Nathaniel, you want to say your name? Just say your name, just so we first check the sound again.
Nathaniel Martin.
Good. We're good. We're good. We gotta get started. Hey. Okay. So, I'm Dr. Rhonda Williams from the Social Justice Institute, the director, and we're here doing an interview with Nathaniel Martin, City Council person, for the Voicing and Action Project of the Social Justice Institute. Nathaniel, why don't you just introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Nathaniel Martin. I live in East Cleveland. I'm a councilman at large in the great city of East Cleveland. I've been here for a number of years. This is my home. My mother lives here, my brother, etc. They've been here for many, many years. They were here when East Cleveland was at its zenith, and they've been here as East Cleveland is in its nadir to some extent, hopefully for a turnaround. So they share some of the history of when they moved here, and it was a lot of hope, a good school system, great police department and all that. And they've seen changes over the years in governance, not such a positive governance, but a negative governance, and a depletion of resources over the years.
So when did your mother and your brother move here?
Oh, they moved here in the 60s, I think. We've been here over 30 years, so would that be maybe longer than that?
Okay,
I don't.
60s would be the 40s.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. So they've been here.
Oh no.
No.
I can't add.
No, 60 would be we in 2012.
50s. The 50 years.
Yeah, they've been here for a while. Yeah, my grandmother died here. My mother's 80 now, and it was the place to live around the 60s and 70s when there was a strong migration of African Americans moving in the East Cleveland community.
Talk more about that when your mother first moved here.
Well, my mother,
what that time was like.
Well, we lived at 101st and Chester, and she was looking for a home. We stayed in row houses there. They're still there. Matter of fact, they tore down the building right on the corner of 101st and Chester, but the row houses are still there, right across from the blind center there. And they were looking for a place, and this was the house that they picked. And we were happy to move in here.
Okay. And why did they want to move away from 101st and Chester? So we're talking, what neighborhood? What's that neighborhood called?
That's the Huff area.
The Huff area.
That's the Huff area.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted a home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it wasn't that bad, an area. As a matter of fact, when we first moved there were more whites there than blacks. Just show you how the area changes over the years. A lot of stores. Give an example. I can remember as a kid going up to 105 when you had movie theaters, all kind of small businesses, shops and all like that, bowling alleys. It was the place to be. Now look at it. Cleveland Clinic owns everything now. That whole area belongs to Cleveland Clinic, so things change.
How old were you then? You said you can remember as a child.
Yeah, I must have been about 8, 9, 10, something like that. I remember going to the store. When was I born? 51.
You remember going in the store?
Yeah, I remember going to the stores, going up there. I remember being a paper boy. I was a paper boy for Cleveland Press. I don't know if you remember that, but Cleveland Press no longer exists, but I used to deliver papers there. My brother used to do the plain dealer. Okay. So I remember winning prizes, winning bikes, and you take the money and I would go up there and get gifts, and you had a good selection up there. It was really nice.
So you would take your money where and get gifts?
I would get gifts. I would get paid as a paper boy, and I'd go up to the different stores up there and get things at a good price.
And that was on 105?
That was on 105.
Okay.
That whole area, 105, 101st. I remember the chicken markets where they used to kill the chickens and all like that. You used to get them fresh. I remember that. It was a thriving business area. I remember 3 theaters there. I can't remember the name of them now, but there were 3 theaters there. I remember bowling alley was there, bars, shoe shops, hair shops. It was a thriving area. It was. Matter of fact, the church I belonged to for close to 35, 40 years is right on 101st and Euclid, right next to East Mount Zion. The church that burned down. Okay. Euclid Avenue Congregational Church, United Church of Christ. That's the church I got involved with when I was a kid.
And how did you get involved in that particular church?
Well, they were doing things in the community. There was a house called the Huff House And I used to go to the house to shoot basketball and do things like that. I got involved in the youth council there, and they were funding. That was One United Church of Christ. Mount Zion near VA was another church that funded it, and I got involved in the teen. I became the teen council president there, and eventually I ended up working there. And while I was going to college at Cleveland State, I lived in the Huff House. It's tore down now, but it was on 97th in Chester, between Chester and Huff.
So the Huff House, describe it to me.
It was a community center located on 97th Street. I think it was 1906 East 97th Street, if I can recall. And the lady who I used to work under, who used to run it, was a lady named Doris Simmons. And I started there, and eventually I became the youth leader, and then I became over the youth programs, and I was there I went to college while I was there. They provided me a place to stay there. There was an African guy who was going to school at Case, and he left, and they offered me to stay there to watch the house. So I did my studying there and all like that, and I had a girls softball team that I coached, a men's basketball team that I coached, and it kind of was my developing years. And then in between that, I was going to school.
Okay, and that was all at Huff House?
That was all at Huff House.
Now, what did Huff House look like?
It was a big, huge house with about 5 or 6 bathrooms, we had a third floor, a second floor, a basement where we used to have dances and all like that. There's a lot of history there, okay? And those were my developing years, and they gave me an opportunity to develop.
And so you said you became leader of the teen council.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you when that happened?
I guess I must have been about 15, 16, around that area, right?
And how did you get that honor?
Well, just being involved, you know, it was sprung on me, and I did it, and I was involved in a whole lot of stuff there, okay. And when my people lived here, and when I was getting ready to go to college, I was going to go into the Army, because I really didn't have any really plans. But when I was growing up, my mother and my grandmother, it was not my father, my mother and my grandmother always had me reading books. Okay, they used to clean houses for those people. Okay, but in the process, they would bring them books home. So they had me read. They always encouraged me to read books, so I was pretty well read. I love to read books. Plus, the hand-me-downs they would bring too. So that helped me to dress nice and all like that. But I'm indebted to my grandmother and mother today for that encouragement. And then I got involved, and people thought I had some leadership skills, and my basketball team won the championship 2 or 3 times. No, I didn't know much about basketball then. The girls softball team did well, and I just learned some principles then that I use now that people will be surprised. Okay.
So there's a couple of things you said I want to follow up on. Very
Okay.
interesting. You said your mother and your grandmother used to clean house for those people.
Right.
What's that mean? Tell me who those people are.
White folks.
Tell me, okay.
They used to, white folks, they used to clean houses. I think they called it day work then. Okay, and I remember, and I see it in my eyes right now, my grandmother coming home with bags of food to feed the family, and my mother did the same thing. Okay, that's how we got by. Okay, and the hand-me-downs, we didn't know they were hand-me-downs. We were glad to get them, but we got them, and it sustained us. Okay, and I learned hard work from then. I remember when I was about 7 years old, I used to clean one of the dry cleaning. I used to sweep and all like that and to get a couple of dollars. And then I did the paper route, and then I had summer jobs, so I've always worked. So I know what the importance of working. But my grandmother and them would bring these books and clothes home, and they always encouraged me to read. So I was a pretty good student, but I wasn't interested in going to college. So I got a call from Cleveland Scholarship, because my grades were good and all like that, and they offered me a scholarship. And I really didn't have anywhere to go, so I went to Cleveland State. I got in Cleveland, and actually brought that, when I got involved in Cleveland State, this got me involved in government. I became student council treasurer, not over the black students, but all the students at Cleveland State. This was in the 70s, that transition, okay? And we had a coalition of white students and black students, and I was a treasurer of student government, and I was a student senator. And I can show you pictures of that because I still have. I started to bring that,
Okay.
but those are the developing years. Okay, okay. I like for you to see that, but that was back in the 70s, and we were involved in student government. We had a coalition, and we divvied out money to all the student organizations. We had a nice piece of change. I remember Fat Glenn's and some of the places that we used to have parties and stuff with the different student organizations at Cleveland State University.
What's Fat Glenn's? Fat
Glenn's was a big hall where most of the student organizations had dances and social events there. Okay, I remember Finn Tower, and it's been renovated since then. Right down on 20-something in Euclid, it's renovated, and that's where students used to stay. Okay.
So your grandmother and your mother used to bring home food and hand-me-downs and books.
And books.
Which,
okay.
And they encourage you to read.
I used to read them. I read all the time.
You read?
All kind of books. You know, some of them I didn't understand, but I read them, and it helped me with my vocabulary. And I used to look up words and all like that. Mm-hmm. So the books helped me tremendously.
And it's you and your brother?
All brothers.
All brothers. How many brothers?
3.
3 brothers.
Okay.
And where are you in?
I'm the second to the oldest. I'm not the oldest. I'm the second of the oldest. Okay. When you coming in, you and Allison, you met my oldest brother. That's Joseph. And I'm Nathaniel, David, and DeLorne. Okay.
And all of you were living at the 105?
At the 101.
Okay.
Okay.
Were you all born at that point, or were some born here in this house?
My youngest was born here. But Joe, David, and myself were born at 100 in that area, in the Huff area, Glenville area too. Okay. I went to junior high. I went to Harry Davis. Elementary schools. I went to Lewis Pasture in Columbia. I know Columbia is torn down. And then I graduated from John Hay High School, and I was involved in the student council at John Hay. So you never know, but it's all kind of connects, because what happens is it helps to build confidence in terms of speaking in front of groups and expressing how you feel and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm.
So now take me through this chronologically. As a teen, you were involved in the teen. You became teen council leader.
At the Huff House.
At the Huff House. Mm-hmm. At that point, where were you in school?
I think I was graduating from high school, getting ready to go to college. Right. Okay.
And so you were also involved in student council at high school at the same time you were teen council.
Exactly.
At Huff House.
Right. Okay. And the African guy who had been there for a few years was leaving to go back to Africa, and he offered me to stay there as the janitor. I was there as a janitor, and I cleaned up, and they gave me a place to stay. I had a room and all like that, so it worked out fine.
Okay. And around what year was that, do you think?
That must have been 70, 71, 72, around there.
Early 20s?
Yeah, I was in my early 20s, right.
Now you said, I'm going to go back to your grandmother and your mother, because you said they were invaluable in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me how they were invaluable. You talked about already them providing for you in books, and there were principles and things you learned from them. What were some of the things that you learned from your grandmother and your mother?
They encouraged me to read, and they instilled discipline in all that I did. Okay, we had to stay home before they got home, before we can go out. And if we didn't stay home and we were out, we'd get a spanking. Okay, and as kids, we would tear up the house and all like that, and they would beat our butts and all like that. And I know parents don't do it now, but it helped us with discipline. But what I didn't realize, I didn't know back then that we were poor. I had no concept that we were poor until I went to college. And when I was around these rich kids that seemed to have a whole lot, that's when I recognized that we were poor. But I had no concept of that. So I really was developing. But I used to read all the time. They were bringing books, and I wasn't big looking at TV, so I used to read books all the time. Okay. And then I like sports too. Okay. And they would give me the freedom. I played basketball, I played baseball, I played football in high school at John Hay. But I used to read all the time. Okay.
Did they ever talk about work? Did they ever say what it was
Oh
like
yeah.
working for
Well,
their
sometimes,
bosses?
yeah,
Can
they
you
would,
share some of
yeah,
that?
the boss would hit on them. Okay, the boss would take freedoms that was inappropriate at the time, and they felt superior. Okay, my grandmother didn't like those people. Okay, she didn't like them, but in order to take care of us, my grandmother was like the father, and my mother, they did that to sustain us. And as you can see, we've always had a nice home. Even when they were washing floors and mopping and cleaning and dusting and all the stuff, we always lived nice. So this thing about poverty is you have that lack of something, but the internal things, the intrinsic things that make you, you can that sustains you. That gets you through the tough times. That gets you. When I was at Cleveland State, I was scared to death. I'm in a lecture class taking a sociology class, and almost all the students were white. It's about 3 black students. This is back in the 70s, and they're talking about stuff in the neighborhood. And I raised my hand and and I spoke 2 or 3 times, scared, and I connected to the professor. Eventually, he had me come see. I got a good grade, and that's again developing. Okay, and I found out they had nothing on me. Okay, just privilege and material things. But when it come to intellect and thinking, all like that, and opinion, I was all right. Okay, I ran for student senate. That's what they called it at Cleveland State, and got elected. Okay. Got put on as the treasurer. Not on the black students, but all the students at Cleveland State. Okay, that was doing that transition of change and all like that. So, in fairness to the white students, they were liberal too, and we worked together to pull that. That's the only way we could pull that off. Okay.
Do you remember a story that your grandmother would tell you about work, or just about where did your grandmother hail from? Where did she come from?
From Tennessee. I think she's from Nashville, Tennessee, and she always said, she used to say, Nathaniel. She don't call me Nate. She said, Nathaniel, I don't want you to have to do this. Okay, I want you to always be a man. So stand for what you think is right, and don't kiss nobody's. I won't say that. It's all right to say that. Don't kiss nobody's ass. It wasn't my father, it was my grandmother and my mother that instilled that. Okay, and I over the years I paid a price, standing for what I think is right. Not so much from white folks, but black folks. To get jealous, get envious, and all like that. Okay, and I deal with a little bit of that now. I'm not always right, but if I feel strongly about something and I analyze the pros and cons and take a position, I take that position, because my role here as not only a citizen but as a council person is to serve the people, not to boost my ego, but to serve the people. When I feel the people are being shortchanged, I step up.
Is that something your grandmother and your mother told you?
Oh, yes.
What's your grandmother's name and what's your mother's
Betty
name?
Mae Cowherd was my grandmother, and my mother's Jean Martin. Okay.
And was your mother born here in Cleveland, or did she also come from?
I think she was born here. Wait a minute. No, she was born in Annapolis.
Okay.
She was born in Annapolis. My grandma was born in Tennessee, and they ended up here through that migration from the South here for better opportunity.
Mm-hmm. And what about your father?
My father lived in Manhattan, New York. I didn't know him well. I saw him 3 or 4 times. He was not there for me, but I don't hold that against him, because it's my development. I developed anyway. You see, you can't get caught up with what didn't take place. It's about what you're doing now. And I think the fact that he wasn't there made me even stronger. And he came around once he found out, because they talk that I got elected in government and all like that. I saw him a number of times and like that, and I respected him, but he just was not there. Okay, he was not there.
How did your parents meet?
I don't know. I didn't get into that. All I know is my mother told me that we were like 3, 4 years old when he left from Cleveland to go to New York to do whatever he done. And my oldest brother had a pretty good relationship with him, but I didn't know him well. I just know he was my father. Okay. What would you say? Biological father. But what's that other part when they don't really, not there to raise you and all like that? But you know what it did for me? My kids, my youngest is Nathaniel, and Jessica, I was always there for them. I made a pact with myself. I said, the fact that my father wasn't there, I would be there for them. Nathaniel is a social worker with a degree from Wilmington College. Jessica is a registered nurse. She's about 23, 24 from Kent State. She just graduated a few years ago. And what I remember about my kids is I got involved in the PTA when it wasn't popular for men to do it, because I wanted my kids to know that I would be there for them. They started at school in 2.5 at the Murata Montessori schools in the hood, right on near St. Clair, near St. Aloysius. And then it moved to Bracknell. But my kids were there when it was right there at St. Aloysius. And they started school at 2.5. Nate was having problems because the teacher didn't really tune into him, and I wasn't involved with it that much. Then I stepped in and cleared that up, and then Nate is done okay, Jessica's done okay, and Dominic, okay? Those are my 3 kids.
When was Nathaniel born?
I think Nathaniel was 81, Dominic 83, Jessica's about 20, 24, 25, so that make her, what year would that be with Jessica?
No, I can't add already.
Okay.
You saw what I did.
Okay. So, but Jessica's 24, 25, Dominic is 27, and Nate's 30. Okay. And Nate graduated from Glenville, and he went on to Wilmington. Jessica graduated from the health careers with the Cleveland Public Schools, and she went on to Kent State. And Dominic is doing his thing. So.
Now tell me about how you met their mom.
Okay. I met the mom at a social event. Her name was Darlene, and we clicked, and we lived together for a little while, and I was reluctant to get married. Then she got pregnant, and then my people from old school said, you got to marry. So I married her, and it worked for a little while, but I have to admit that I was a roaming type of man doing those. I was young and what would you call it? Sowing my wild oats. Did you hear that, Allison? Okay, so that created problems, so it didn't work. But 13 years, it worked 13 years. But those 13 years, something that I knew was important, and that was this, that we lived in a drug area on 102nd and St. Clair. We had a house, okay, and I knew I had to involve my kids in sport to keep them out of that drug activity. So this is where fatherhood comes in. I didn't care whether they could hit the ball that well or put the ball in the hoop or whatever, but I knew they needed to be involved in activity to keep them out of that, and it worked. Okay, PTA, I became the PTA president while they was at Murata Montessori School, and I went to everything. But I did something that I always encourage parents to do. I used to do what I call parent observations. I would go up to the school, whether I could go up there or not, and say, I'm here for a parent observation. And they would not deny me. And I go in their classroom, sit in the back room, don't say a word for 15, 20 minutes, and let them know that them being here, they're here to learn, not to be BSing and that kind of thing. And it worked. The proudest thing in my life is my kids. You don't hear me say much about them, but they went to school, they did well, and I love them. But it takes parenting. I'm not, we can talk about East Cleveland, but it's my kids that I care about. Okay, but you have to put in the time. I don't care what they come up with all the technology, the iPods and all this stuff. If you don't put in time with your kids, they're not going to have that guidance that they need. Okay.
Now you had a house at 102nd and St. Clair. You grew up at 101st, not far then from, so you and your wife and your children live not far from where you actually grew up.
Right.
Would that be right?
Right. Well, we started at, I lived at the Huff House.
Okay.
Then I met her, and then I got a place right down the street from a white lady in my church. Her name was Aldith Hallgood, a real good friend. And guess what her thing was? To show you, and we did this. McGuffey readers. Are you familiar with the McGuffey readers? Those are the books they had back in the one room. Where she was a Smith graduate, very smart lady, and we used to sit around a table like this, and read out of these books that they had in the one room schoolhouses. So they were constantly getting the importance of reading and all like that. And Aldous Hallgood has died now, but she stayed in the hood, but she was a rich white lady, okay, but she was all right. So I moved in her building, and we stayed there for about 8 or 9 years, and then it was time having kids. We had a nice place, but my ex wanted a house, so we finally went on it, and the deal we got on 102nd was a good deal. It was a nice house. We could move right in. We didn't have to do anything to it. So they're there now. She still owned the house right there. Still there.
Okay.
Okay.
And where was the building that you moved into? That the lady in your church.
It was right on 97th Street, right down the street from Huff House.
Okay.
And it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The building's still there.
So how did the neighborhood change? How did you see the neighborhood change from where you grew up to where you then moved with your partner at the time to where you actually bought a house?
Well, how would you say it changed? It changed where you had a mixture of people living there. White folks were still living there, and people care about the neighborhood. I think the change is people begin to move in, and they didn't really care that much about the neighborhood. And you can see the decline. And she kept that building up, and I used to help her keep the building up. And around her, people were moving in, they were selling the property, or they were renting. They began to move out and rent and move out to the suburbs. And you can see the decline because there was not a sense of neighborhood. Neighborhood is people talking to each other, not getting in each other's business, but talking to each other, interacting with each other, being civically engaged, going to the community meetings, interacting with their council persons to get the services that they're entitled to. That's some of the things I did at Huff House. Not only with the teens, but knocking on doors and getting people to come to this and come to that.
And how did the neighborhood change in terms of racial demographics?
Yes, it turned from a mixture to a predominantly black. Mm-hmm. Right. Miss Hallgood stayed there till she died, but other people that were in the area, they moved out.
Mm-hmm. What about economically? Were there any demographic changes in terms of economics that you could tell? I mean, not that you knew what everybody was making or anything like that.
Well, I would say that naturally the blacks that were moving in wasn't making the kind of money that the whites that stayed there for a while were making.
Why would
So
you say naturally?
Okay, because we always make less. They always make more. That was just the norm at that time. We were lucky to keep jobs and maintain jobs. It was a double standard. Okay, they made more, and they knew about investing money. Miss Hallgood, who was a friend of mine, she had all kind of stock. I went to. She sent me to this college for McGuffey Readers of Convention. You need to look up McGuffey Readers because it go way back. What is the name of the school? It's in Ohio. I can't think of the name of the school. It's known for its sports too, but it's a small liberal arts school, and she sent me there to represent Cleveland in McGuffey Readers, and I was pretty interested. Beautiful college, beautiful campus. I can't think of it right now because it's been so many years, but I remember going there. It'll come to me. Okay.
And did your mom and your grandmother do day work for most of their lives?
For most of their lives, right.
What about neighbors? Any neighbors that you remember that were family, friends? What kind of work did they engage in?
Let me think. There were people that worked at gas stations and did all different kind of things like that, and some people did the day work like my mother and my grandmother, the African Americans, and all the properties that we lived in were owned by the white folks. They own everything, and the row houses. If you get a chance, because it's not far from Cape, go to 101st and Chester, and you see those row houses. It's the only thing there, right there, right across from the Blind Center there. Okay, but where the Blind Center there used to be a hotel. There was a hotel there, right there. If it was from 105 to 101st, there was a hotel there. Yes, yes, right there, right across from that church, that Pentecostal church there. I remember it very vividly because we used to go in there sometime. Right, but they tore it down and built the blind place. Okay, the Jewish temple's been there for many, many years. That's where we used to play baseball. Okay, all right. The sports kept me out of trouble. At that time, I was shy, wasn't into girls. I didn't get into girls until I got into college. I wasn't in girls when I was in high school because I was delivering papers. When I got out of school at 2:30, 3 o'clock, I had to go deliver the Cleveland Press. Okay, and they used to make fun of me, you know, but I dealt with it because I was getting paid, and that helped me to learn to interact with people. And then, you know, around the holidays, people give you tips and all like that. But I worked.
Who made fun of you?
My people my age, you know, the cool people, you know, the people in the know and all like that. He's delivering papers. Okay, because I have to go to papers and then knock on the door, collect on Fridays and all like that. But I did it. Okay.
How long did you have a paper route?
I had a paper route for all the way through high school. Okay. The last year, I got into a special program where I was working at a Clark gas station. Okay. It was a distributive education program through John Hay, because that's where I graduated from. And I was doing them both. And then I eventually let the paper route go because I was doing okay with that. And then, like, I was preparing to go in the Army, the Vietnam around that time, and then I got the scholarship, like from Cleveland Scholarship, and I ended up going to Cleveland State.
Okay, so you were on your way to the Army to Vietnam?
Yeah, I was going to go. Yeah, I was going to enlist, but I got this letter from the Cleveland Scholarship, and I remember her name, Mrs. Sapien. She came to my house and said, "We will give you a scholarship. You have excellent grades and all like that." And I got the scholarship. I was, matter of fact, in my high school graduating class, I was 4th. So I guess I was an all right student. But I never thought about it, gave it that much thought. So I went on to Cleveland State. And that's when I got involved in the fraternity. Okay. And that's, again, from student council at John Hay to then my second year at Cleveland State, student senator, treasurer, there. So it was all building toward me doing this, what I'm as a councilman at large.
Okay. So. And the fraternity? Oh,
the fraternity that's where I started interacting with the women and partying and all like that. and started dancing a whole lot and all like that, having fun. Mm-hmm. But it also had a civic thing. I used to have the fraternity brothers contribute to Huff House. When we had basketball teams, they would buy the uniforms. When we had the girls softball team, they would buy the uniform. They would paint the house. They would clean the house, the pledges and all like that. So they gave something back. Plus, we would have parties. Now, at Cleveland State, we would have to end the parties about 1:30. Well, because I had to hook up at Huff House, they can come to Huff House to have the parties from 1 to 5 in the morning. So it worked out. Did you hear that, Allison? It worked out. Mm-hmm. And they talk about it today, okay? Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, a fraternity with members like the Honorable Congressman Stokes, what I would say Case Western Reserve, when they named the building after him, Mike White, I can go on and on. It's a prominent international fraternity.
What was your line name?
What did we call ourselves? The Dogs, okay.
And what was your individual name?
I was number 2 on the line, and what they called me, Nate. Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And guess what? We used to meet in my place. We lived at 101st because my grandmother loved to cook. They loved coming over there. We would have our meetings, organizing and doing what we need to do. Every Sunday, we would meet there. We pledged for almost 8 or 9 months because the thing was dragging out too long, and then the alumni stepped in, and we finally went over.
What did your grandmother cook?
Oh, greens and hams and ham hocks and all kind of stuff. She was a great cook. Yeah.
Did your mom help?
Yes, she's a great cook too. Mm-hmm. Okay, mm-hmm. I don't have nobody cooking. They hook me up still. I'm still my mom's boy. Okay, on Sunday she hooks me up. I come by, and she give me something that lasts me 2 or 3 days. See, the ladies today don't want to do that. Okay, y'all don't want to cook, do y'all? Right, y'all independent. Y'all ain't doing that old school stuff, right?
So you were right in the midst of civil rights. And
Oh yes.
Talk a little bit about that. What
We
was
had
going on while you were still in that area?
When I was in student government, we had Angela Davis come and speak. I'm gonna show you the book so you can see it. I kept a portfolio on it. She came to speak. My best friend at the time, Clifton Newman, he's an attorney. He lived in Columbia, South Carolina now. We were rolling at Cleveland State. It was times when the students were kind of wanted change. Okay, and we worked together. Up until the point that we got on student government, it was always white. Okay, it was always white. But the liberal students, and we came together with a coalition. That's how we won that thing. Okay, and we worked together. We did things together. It was just a sign of change. And I'm so glad I didn't go to Vietnam. I could have went to Vietnam. And I'm glad I didn't do that, because after I began to read and really look into it, it was an unjust war. We had no business to be over there. For what reason? Okay? Just like recently, Iraq and Afghanistan, what the hell are we doing over there for? Spending all them billions of dollars in bombs and tanks and stuff ain't helping us at all. That's why the economy is the way it is right now. Okay? So I'm glad I didn't go. That would have been a big mistake. I could have got killed over there. For what reason? So thank God. Thank God. And I thank my parents for encouraging me to read, to study. Okay. And I like to read books. I like school. They would have called me a nerd, Allison. I was the nerd back then. Okay. But I'm all right.
So you graduated from Cleveland State University?
Yes, in 74, and I graduated from John Hay in 70. Okay, it was a good experience.
And what did you get your degree in?
Arts and sciences. Okay, and but I had a minor in Black history. I love history. Okay, I love history. How do we know where we're going if we don't know where we've been? And I constantly tell young people, know your history. And we're missing that. The Jewish people make sure their people know the history. We have that responsibility too. So history is big to me. Here in East Cleveland, know the history. Know who your mayors were. Going back to Anwar, to Eric Brewer, to Norton. And look at the history. See what's going on. If there's been something that I'm sad about, is that the governance over the last 15 to 20 years in East Cleveland has not been that well. Starting from the mayor, trickling down to the council. Ego, easing God out, is a problem. Ego, easing God out. Everybody thinking they this, well, I'm that and all like that, and we can't hardly get anything done. When we started moving in East Cleveland in the 60s and 70s, East Cleveland was predominantly white. The park up there, Forest Hill Park, is where Rockefeller used to live, which he used to ride his horses. He gave 2/3 of the park to East Cleveland and 1/3 of it to Cleveland Heights. And when we started moving in, we cared about housing, we cared about community. They started moving out, and we lost the tax base. And then we got people in government that wasn't concerned about people, but more concerned about themselves. And we've been struggling with that, and we're struggling with that today. So my responsibility is to try to help people, to try to serve people, to see that people get services, okay, to improve the quality of life for people. But in a government setting or entity, you have to have the votes to get anything done. It's just like today with Obama. Okay, Robert stepped up to do the right thing. The healthcare thing's going to be okay. People will be able to get things they never got, but it took him 70 years to do it. But he had the courage, the guts, the grit to stick it out. Okay? So this wasn't no Republican. This was the right thing to do. And I commend him for having that, because he took a beating. He took a beating.
I want to come back to the history of East Cleveland, particularly the mayoral administration. Before we do that, I want you to take me from '74, when you graduated from CSU, to the time you met your wife.
Okay.
What was going on in that moment, and what year did you told me you met her and you all knew each other for a little bit? What year did you meet her in?
Well, I met her.
'74 to.
She came to live. We dated. We clicked immediately. She was staying on Huff, and I used to go get her all the time. And it was it was convenient for her to just stay, you know. And matter of fact, when I was over the youth council, the program that I was about 20-something years old, and I had my own program at Huff House, she was my secretary. Okay, so you know it all connected. So she lived with me for a little while, and then she got pregnant, and her family, and my best in mind, you need to get married and all like that. We got married a block of street over in a friend's house. Matter of fact, 3 or 4 of the basketball players on my basketball team, called the Huff House Players, could play instruments. They were the band. We had they'll never forget that event. We had all kind of food. The band played well and all that. It was a special event. It didn't rain, nothing like that. And my family was there. My uncle, who I have a lot of admiration, he was an attorney. He died. His name was John Martin. Okay. So so we moved into Miss Hallgood's building. Okay. Me and Miss Hallgood were friends from church. Okay. And we stayed there till the family was growing and we needed a house. She wanted a house. So it took about 6-7 months. We got a house. You got to go to the credit check. It's when you get in a house, they check you thoroughly. So we finally got a house and we moved over there. But I still was kind of wild and doing my thing and arrogant, kind of arrogant. And it lasted for 13 years and she wanted out. And we were civil, okay? It was a disillusion. So I gave her the house. Okay, I didn't need the house because the kids needed the house. Okay, we had a dog called Magic. Okay, and I love Magic. And we went through that, and I gave her the house, and then I moved. That's what brought me to East Cleveland, was the divorce. Okay.
So now take us to East Cleveland.
Okay, right. Took to East Cleveland. I go to a couple of community meetings, just messing around, and people say, we like what you have to say. And I never gave it any thought. Then I showed up another community meeting and people say, who are you? And then a couple of people say, you should run for council. I didn't give it much thought. After I heard it a number of times, I decided to run for council. I didn't get in the first time. The second time I won pretty well. And I've been in council ever since. That's what got me involved moving here. Mm-hmm. So it might have been in the plan, because you never know what God has for you, but it was in the plan for me to do that. Mm-hmm. And I ran, I got elected, and I've been involved in community stuff since I've been here.
So you and your wife Darlene and the family were still over in the Glenville Huff area. Your mom and your other siblings had already moved here.
Right.
In the late 60s, early 70s.
70,
And then after 13 years of marriage, what year did you all get married?
I don't remember. Okay. But it must have been the 80s. Right.
So you moved here in the 90s?
Yeah. I moved here. I've been here. It must have been the 90s, right? Yeah. And I moved on Neelamere. Okay. My mother used to stay. She stayed there for a little while, and my aunt stayed there. So I stayed on the 3rd floor. Okay. Again, frugal. Okay. And when you go through a divorce and you got kids, you got to pay child support. The only way I got by was staying somewhere where I paid $100 a month for rent on the 3rd floor, and just show you what the sacrifices you make in life. The first 3 years on the 3rd floor, I had no heat. Can you believe that? That's a sacrifice, but that's the only way I could have got by, because the child support was killing me, but I had to pay it. So you make the adjustment. Then we finally got heat up there. That worked out okay. But that's what I did. Okay?
Talk about that first place that your mother had in East Cleveland, where you actually lived on the third floor?
Okay, that was on Neelamere. Very nice place. Okay, she didn't have anyone living there, and they wanted a male there. Okay, my aunt was a female, and my mother. And my mother always had a nice place, and she had a nice place. And she said, "Well, do you mind moving up on the third? Because they had somebody to shovel snow and do all the things that I would do, because I couldn't beat $100, could I? Okay, so it worked out, and juggling what I was doing at the time, and all like that, it worked out because my whole thing was I got to make that sacrifice until my kids turn 18 and they emancipated, and I went to court 5 or 6 times because I kept telling them I was overpaying child support. Well, if you deal with that system, they have no respect for men. They dog you down. It's mostly women. Okay? Well, I finally got in there because I knew some people. I finally got a hearing and all like that. They said, well, Mr. Martin, you've overpaid $5,000. I said, well, how am I going to get my $5,000 back? They said, well, take her to small claims court. I said, you the guys who was taking the money. Okay? So I thought about it and I prayed on it. I said, the hell with the $5,000. I'm glad I'm through with it. I said, it went to the kids, I left it alone because it was frustrating dealing with it, going back and forth, back and forth. I went to 3 or 4 attorneys, and I realized I do this myself. So I started doing the motion and started doing it myself. And when I got in there, and they were able to look at it, okay, they agreed with me. Then they sent me this thing in the mail saying, you've overpaid $5,000. I said, well, you gonna pay it back? Well, take her to court. I'm not gonna take her to court. I'm gonna do that. And those are my kids. So I left it alone. So you win some, you lose some.
And what was your job at the time? What were you doing?
I was a social worker at county jail. Okay? I was a social worker there for almost 10 years under McFall. Okay? And the commissioners. I did that. And then I left there. And this was the best job I ever had. I worked as a corporate rep for Cleveland Works Incorporated. It was a job placement program. The best in the country. Cleveland Works. And I made a nice buck there. Okay? But even that, I had to pay child support. Okay, so I paid it. I paid it. And I got frustrated dealing with attorneys, not getting the job done. And I ended up doing it myself. Okay, and after the facts speak for themselves. And then the magistrate gave the ruling that, Mr. Martin, you just don't need to pay anymore. You've overpaid $4,000 or $5,000. And then they said, well, we're not going to give it back to you. You got to get it from her. So I was supposed to take her to small claims court, and they were going to take. I wasn't going to do that. And I wasn't going to do that. She wasn't a bad wife. I was the one who was young and dumb. Okay, I wouldn't do that. We talked today. Okay, so another learning process, and that's why I'm not a vengeful person. I don't believe in grudges. I think things happen for a reason, and if you're open to it, you'll grow and you'll learn. You'll learn more from the tough times than when things are going fine. Okay.
So can you think, because you just described, moving into East Cleveland with your mom on the third floor and your aunt. What's your aunt's name?
Amy. She died about 3 months ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Amy Watson. Right.
Wow. Okay.
Right. Sweetheart. And they loved me being there. They had me doing all kind of stuff, but that's okay. I couldn't beat it. Okay. Then we finally got a heater up there, which that helped. Okay. But I got by. I was going most of the time anyway. So once I had the blanks and all like that, it worked out. You make your sacrifice.
Was that your earliest memory of East Cleveland?
Yeah, that was my earliest memory. But here's what I always wanted to be involved in government. I always wanted to run. I was going to run for council in the Glenville area because when I was there, I was always community engaged, and there was drug activity. So I wasn't putting up with that. I went to the councilman, went to the police district guy at the time. My house was so packed with people. We got them drugs off the street, okay? And people wanted me to run, but then the divorce kicked in, and I moved. I would have ran then. So when the opportunity presented here, I wasn't really interested. I jumped on it and I knocked on doors and do what you have to do, and I won. I remember my uncle helped me, and he said, Nathaniel, if you knock on them doors and connect with people, it'll work. It didn't work the first time, but I learned because you learn that people will stab you in the back. You can't always trust people. That first time I ran was a learning experience. The second time I knew exactly what to do, and I did it. And I've been in there ever since.
So when did you first run? Talk a little bit about that.
I think I got elected in '95, something like that. Knocking on doors, and I'm at large. See, I'm not in a ward. I had to cover the whole city, okay. And I knocked on doors with what there's a saying I always use that helps me get elected. I call it mom. And I use it today. Money, organization, and message. Okay, I raised money. I had a little organization, a few people that I could trust, and I had a message, a strong message. And the people connected to the message, and they elected me. Okay, and I went in there, and I came out for 2 years because they didn't put me back in there because I took a stand that was very unpopular, but I still stand by it today. Kirk School up there is called what do they call it? The school now? Heritage Middle School. I was totally opposed to them tearing it down. It was a beautiful school. Tearing it down to put what they put up there now. It's just not the quality. And people got mad. And the pants thing. They didn't like that. I took a strong stance on young people pulling up their pants, and them parents got scared. Because I said I was going to legislate that they couldn't, which I can legally do it, but it scared them people. But that's okay. I bit the bullet. I dealt with it. I knew what I did wrong, so I said, I'm going to go back. I came back, they put me back, and I've been there ever since. Okay. So I was out for 2 years. They brought me back, and I've been in there since. That's why I know that if the mayor and the council work together, a lot can be done. But those years I've been there, starting with Wallace Davis was the mayor at the time, you could work with him. Even Anwar, even though he went to jail, you could work with him. He recognized that if he didn't have the support, he wouldn't push it. But after him, the other ones, it's almost like it's their way or no way.
So it was Wallace Davis?
Wallace Davis was the mayor.
Anwar.
Brewer. Don't forget Sarita Goggins. Oh. Okay, Sarita Goggins. Okay, she was only mayor for 9 months. Brewer beat her. Brewer had a lot of potential, but that ego, easing got out, thinking that you all that. And now with my fraternity brother, Gary Norton, that ego. He was the council president. He came to me and asked to support him. I supported him. Everybody on the council supported him. Everybody at the time for mayor. That's been less than 2 years. Now nobody can get along, not a one. And even the new guy, and I'll say this for you, he's a fraternity brother too, Mansell Baker. He worked harder to help Norton get in there than when he ran against Mildred Brewer. And he didn't treat Mansell Baker right. It's just he didn't. So now he's got 5 people on the council that he's going to have to struggle with. Because if he doesn't do what we think is right, it's going to be a struggle. And it's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate situation because I think when you get these kind of opportunities to manage a city, and that's what a mayor does, he's got directors that do the work, and under directors are the people that really do the work. If you have good directors and the people that are working, things get done. But if you think that you're going to control everything and do everything, you're going to have problems. If you don't work with the council, and the council is not perfect, but the council wants success just like you, and when it works, everybody benefits. But if it's your way or no way, it creates problems. And I have to run next year, and I'm really thinking about whether I want to do it or not. That'd be 14 years, and I think the most important thing that we must have in any democracy is civic engagement. People have to get involved. They have to participate. That's why I have the Democratic Club. I took it over when it had been meeting for 4 years. Now it's one of the best, not in East Cleveland, but in Cuyahoga County, because people are coming out. But it's work. It's work. This small little town can change. We're located next to University Circle, where they're doing all that building and all like that. It's a good location, Route 20. All the land. Why you think that Circle East is coming up? Because we got all the vacant land. So they're coming this way. But if they come this way, come right. Give us our fair share. We can't just give them the property. Okay. We just can't do that. Next month, Circle East will be open. And right now, from what I'm hearing, 70% of the suites are already taken care of, already spoke for. Okay. If that works, they're going to continue to come this way, coming east. And in between, those streets in between Rhonda, Y. Williams, and Allison, there's a lot of vacant land. We got the vacant land, and they almost get it for nothing. The Circle East project, Chris Ronay and them, we are facing right now a $5.8 million deficit. When you come in and you build structures, the city gets building fees for that. Well, we were entitled to a minimum of $20,000, maybe $30,000 in building fees. The mayor waived the building fees for that corporation. Not with the help of the council. He just took it upon himself to do that. We're going to end up in court about that because they could afford to pay the building fees. So those are the issues that you deal with in a governance kind of situation. Is that $30,000 can help us. The salaries that our employees are making up there, they deserve it, but we can't afford it. How can we afford it with a $5.8 million? We're not getting the revenue that was projected from the red light cameras. We're not getting it. The stationary cameras that you see, all that revenue goes to that corporation because we owe them money. Our refuge, this is what's bringing us to fiscal emergency. We had raised the refuge fee to about $12 about 7-8 years ago. Okay, somebody got wise and circulated a petition, and they cut it back to $6. Well, we can't afford to cover the cost of the refuge with Rumpke at people paying $6. Everybody around the county are raising their refuge fees. So we want to raise the fee up to $12, but we've reached out to the mayor, and I say this with love, and said, you need to step up and help us. Well, he said he's not going to do that. He wants us to stay. We're going to raise the refuge fee and increase the income tax 0.5, and he's going to stand on the side. So we're not going to raise it. So what that means, that the deficit is going to continue to rise. Okay? We need to raise the refuge fee, and we need to raise the income taxes 2.0 to 2.5 because we need that revenue so that people can get your services. But if he doesn't step up, and I've had this conversation with him, he knows we're not going to do anything because it's the right thing to do. Not the political thing to do, but the right thing to do. It's no free rides in America. You've got to pay. They can't continue to get the refuge picked up at $6 and everybody else is paying $15 to $20 in all the other suburbs. It ain't going to happen. Rumpke's got to be paid. So we're heading in that direction. And we're not getting the revenues projected from the red light cameras. Even though they did a big blitz and all like that, we had projected that we would get $1.2 million by the end of this year. You know how much we have so far? A little over $100,000. That's why. It ain't personal. This is business. This is a $30 million corporation, and we have to do what we think is right, not what's probably what's right. I don't want to raise these people's fee on the refuge fee or the income tax. But if we don't have revenue, we're not going to make it. So the state will step in eventually and say, well, you can't make your bills. We're going to come in, and they're going to make the cuts. So that's where we're going. That's where we're going. And I wish that the administration would work with the council in terms of these kind of things. What happens politically is if we go on and do it, well, the council raise your refuge fee and increase your taxes. So he takes the politically smart thing where he can point the finger at us, but he's in this to win this together. The legislative branch is just as important as the ministry. We have to work together on some of these things. So that's where we're going.
So let's circle the wagon. So we're going to come back.
Okay.
End it back up with the current administration.
Mm-hmm.
When you started in 95.
Okay.
You were under Mayor Davis?
Yeah, Wallace Davis,
Wallace
right.
Davis.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like?
Well, we worked for the most part. He was the guy with the funeral home down the street here, Wallace Davis Funeral Home, right down the street there, right across from Ed Parker's place, right across the street from Snicker Fritz. Okay, he was a nice guy. Okay, I don't think he really had the vision that we would like, but we didn't have a lot of controversy. He would kind of go with the flow. Okay.
What kind of vision did he have?
Not much at all. Just run a city, and to show you how life can be, the person that he brought in ran against him and beat him. Anwar. Okay. You see, Anwar came in, first African. He got national attention being elected as a mayor, and then he got caught with his hands in the till, got greedy. Okay. Tell us about that. Okay. He got with the wrong folks, Nate Gray and that group, and he got and once they had him on tape doing the wrong thing, saying the wrong thing with his hand out. Then he went to federal court and he got 8 years, and he's out now. He's been out now. I haven't seen him, but he's out. Okay, that was a decline. We had a judge, Mosley. They called him taking money. See, this is the decline of East Cleveland in terms of governance. He did some federal time. Then Anwar was involved with Eric Brewer. To show you how life can be. Brewer runs against Anwar. Well, Anwar was, it was Sarita Goggins stepped in because Anwar went to jail. So Sarita Goggins had it, and she had some baggage in her background. Eric Brewer became mayor. A lot of potential. Same potential that Gary Norton. Eric Brewer, his ego got involved, big time. Okay. If he didn't get his way, he would do all kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, we knew he wasn't going to get reelected because he couldn't work with the council because we was fighting all the time and that type of thing.
And the council included you and Gary Norton.
Gary Norton was the president at the time.
Joy Jordan.
Omaze, Mildred Brewer, etc. So Omaze got defeated, and Barbara Thomas came on, and I can't connect it all, but you kind of know what happened. So Brewer lost to the young man, Gary Norton. And everybody on the council, and I hope that's not redundant, supported Gary Norton. Okay. And these pictures came out. And I don't know if I should say this, but maybe I will. Gary Norton showed me those pictures. I didn't believe it was Eric Brewer. I did not believe it was him. Because he had this persona of being macho and tough guy and all like that. So I couldn't conceive of him dressed in women's clothing and all like that. Not that makes him a bad guy. But eventually, they got out. We believe, and I can't prove this, that Norton had a lot to do with them getting out. At that point, Eric Brewer didn't have a chance to get elected because he had embarrassed the city. And if you've seen those pictures are, as we say here, off the hook. Okay? So Brewer got in. Norton beat him. And we were hopeful that now we're going to have a turn. We got a young man, etc. And the reason why I didn't run, because people asked me to run, because I'm going to give the young man a chance. I said, I don't know if I want to deal with the stress and all that involved with it. So we all supported him. Now, he had a friend in Mildred Brewer. This is less than 2 years now. He hasn't been in there 2 years. At the end of this year, he'll be in there 2 years. He hasn't been there in 2 years, and not one person on the council, even a new one, can stand him, can deal with him. Not whether they like him or his size, whatever. It's him working with us. Recently, and I see him at the fraternity meetings, and we talk, okay? And we go back and forth and all like that. But I tell the fraternity brothers, I'm there to serve the people. This fraternity ain't got nothing to do with what I do in East Cleveland. What goes on in East Cleveland stays in East Cleveland. I had to make a statement to them because at one point he would try to make me look like I was constantly trying to I don't try to undermine it, but tell me the truth. I'm a city leader. They elected me to be the city leader. I asked Gary Norton to support me to be the city leader. He told me he would. When it came down to vote, and you can check with Mansell, I don't want you to believe what I said, he stayed in the car till the vote was over. Then he came up to get on the executive committee. At that point, I had no respect for him at all.
What is city leader?
City leader is, I'm over the entire city with the Democratic Club. All the precinct people come under me. All the executive people come under me. Okay? To be a city leader, you got to get elected by the precinct people. Okay? Well, I needed his vote. He told me he'd be giving me, but he didn't give me his vote. I still got in anyway. Okay? That started the decline. Okay? And then there's a number of things that I won't go into that's come up where he has not been a man of his word.
You mean a decline between you two?
Me, between two of us. Mm-hmm. Okay? And as I looked at the picture and saw some things, and I said, I must be a big fool because a number of things that he said that he would do for me, he didn't do. And because I'm an easygoing kind of person, I think, and I'm a forgiving kind of person, I let things go. But enough is enough. So now, whether I like him or dislike him, the $5.8 million, the decline, the lack of the fact that we're not working together, I thought when he came in that he should not increase salaries. He should have kept them where they were or cut them back. Well, almost everybody around him is making $80,000. We can't afford that. Not that they deserve it, but we can't afford it. That's why I was going into fiscal emergency. And you add on the refuge fee, we owe them about $200,000 or $300,000. We had the red light camera. We're not getting the revenue there. We owe them money. And the income tax that we're not going to write, we'll be there. We'll be there by the end of the year. That's the direction we're going. Something happened recently. The crossing guards. To show you how. We asked the finance director, they all answered to the mayor, to provide us with all the health care in all the departments. That's the way we've always done it. But the mayor wanted to put all the health care in one category, central services. Well, what happens with that, you put that in one category, you hard to monitor how the money's being spent. So he held on it for 2 or 3 months. We got to a meeting where if we didn't act on it collectively, people wouldn't get their health care. The police was all in the air, the fire people all in the air, the employees all in, they came to the meeting. Then he had his finance director, it's on tape, come in, he had him standing out in the hallway, and finally gave us what we asked for. Then I said, well, are the crossing guards going to go back to work? Because he laid them off. He didn't have to lay the crossing guard. They only make $30,000, the whole 8 and out of them because they didn't work in the summer and all like that. He never put the crossing guards. 3 or 4 of them quit. They never came back. I know some of them. One at Stanwood and Euclid, where I'm at, and one at Forest Hill Boulevard and Euclid. They never came. They quit. So prior to that, he stood out and made a big media issue of him being a crossing guard. But that was all media hype. So now that we've passed it, since you have 2 or 3 or 4 crossing guards that are not coming back, why don't you put the police out there for that hour and a half in the morning and an hour and a half in the afternoon? Well, he didn't do that. So I called a press conference to say, look, the crossing guards are not out. So he shows up at the press conference at Superior and Euclid, got up in my face, our noses are touching each other and all like that, and he eventually called the police on me. I'm pulling out of the gas station because I see what's happening. They flying in the gas station, and I had pulled out just in time. He would have had me arrested. And if I would have got arrested, the media would have had a field day with that. A field day.
You saw him call the police? Or
yes, I'm standing right next to him.
You picked up the phone?
No. The guy was with him, who's connected with the gas station. He told the guy, he's on your property. Call him. Call the police. He shouldn't be on you. This is that Shell gas station. So he called the police. I'm looking at this. And the person who was with me said, Mark, get in the car. And I got in the car, and before I pulled off good, one car was flying in, and when I was going down Euclid, going east, another car was flying down. What kind of stuff is that? And then I talked to the police chief. We talked about it, and he said, Martin, we wouldn't have arrested you. I couldn't take that chance. I couldn't take that chance. So you take so much, Rhonda Y. Williams and Allison, and then you draw the line. So I've drawn the line with him. There would be no reconciliation. Okay, I'll work with him as much as I can, but there would not be. That was the final straw with me. And some things that's happened that I know of that was intentionally not in a loving spirit toward me. And I've never tried to hurt that young man. Never have. So some of the same issues happened with Mansell. You ask him, when Mansell worked for him, Mansell has a degree, Mansell worked for him, and Mansell worked for him harder than he worked for him when he ran against Mildred Brewer. Mildred, Barbara Thomas, Joy Jordan, Chantel, talked to all of them. They got stories about interacting with Mr. Norton. That's the problem. Acknowledging and recognizing the fact that we have our issues too, and we're not perfect, but that's the problem. He's not a man of his word. He's not. Then Eric Brewer left. He went to Warren, Ohio after he had been embarrassed and humiliated by them pictures. Those pictures went global.
So this is after Goggins.
Yeah, this is after Goggins.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is.
What happened to Goggins?
Goggins got beat by Eric Brewer.
Mm-hmm. You said she was in for 9 months. And
she was in for 9. She ran, right. Mm-hmm. After Eric Brewer campaigned and got the support and all like that, she got beat. And she thought that she was going to come under work with Norton in his administration, because we had a conversation about it, but that didn't happen for whatever reason. Brewer came in. Okay. Brewer came in. We had 4 years of him, arrogance and all that.
Well, describe a little bit more what happened under Brewer. Yeah.
Brewer,
the politics, the city.
The politics was his way or no way. It got to that point, to the point that we're going back and forth all the time with emails and, well, you can't do this, you can't do that. I got into a number of situations with taking a lot of time on my day job, writing emails back and forth with him through the council office. And
like, what were the issues? What were the back and forth issues? And what was your day job?
I'm a courier for the county prosecutor. I still do that now. Okay. And one day I went to a meeting around my lunch hour. Eric Brewer called my boss and said, Martin's at this meeting. Then they called me in and say, Martin, don't go to these meetings. They're calling on you. That's the kind of stuff I had to do. And then I caught someone who was shaking down vendors. And I talked about it at the council meeting. The next day, Eric had called all the media, and they said that I was obstructing justice. So I was on all the TV stations and all like that. They called me in and said, Martin, they're making these accusations. Okay. I went and spoke to the media and told them what my point of view was. Anyway, nothing ever happened with what I said. But the guy who I accused of shaking down vendors, he ended up getting rid of him. I had to deal with that aggravation. Okay.
And that was in East Cleveland.
That was
shakedowns what happened in East Cleveland.
Right.
The county prosecutor's office that you work for is in Cleveland.
Right, it's in Cleveland, right. So they didn't believe me, but they called certain people who know all what's going on, people in the police department. And the police department said, Martin ain't done nothing wrong. Okay. The guy, I won't mention his name, he's dead now, who was shaking down these people, he ended up getting rid of him. Okay, those kind of situations, it almost make me feel like the situation with Mr. Norton down here at the Shell gas station when he called the police on me, or had the other guy call the police. And it was smart the way he did it, because he can say, well, I didn't call the police, but he told the guy to do it. Okay, but this is my fraternity brother. Okay, we crossed the burning sands. You know what it's like, and we went through all that together as fraternity brothers. We've been through that experience. So,
what other issues under Brewer?
Well, Brewer, I would go to his town hall. He had town hall meetings every week. Okay, and I would voice my point of view, which didn't agree with him. Okay, so
Do you have an example?
let's see. Well, let me think of something that's concrete. So much. I mean, it's so. Because I would go every week. To people say, "Stop going, Martin. You can't win there." But different points of view. In the final say, he would have the final say because he was running it. But I get up there and tell them, "Well, this is how I see it." Okay. So.
And at the time, you were a city council person.
Right.
So what were your major concerns as a city council person?
The-
Because you were 95 and 97, then it was 2 years off.
Mhm.
You came back on in 99.
Right.
And so from 99 to now, you've been serving as a city council. What were your...
We're not giving the people the services they're entitled to. Okay. And we're bringing in people and paying them too much, or we're bringing in people who I think are not qualified to do what they need to do. I felt
This
that...
is under Brewer?
This was under Brewer, right. This is under Brewer. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I felt that Brewer got to the point that he thought he knew more than the council. That is, you know what, the problem, very simple. The problem is between Eric Brewer and Gary Norton, is they think they know more than the council. Now, check this out. It's 5 council people and there's 1 mayor. Gary Norton, 5 council people, there's 1 mayor, Eric Brewer. All of us can't be dummies. You understand what I'm saying? If we all got a little bit of sense and intellect, we ought to be able to bring something to the table. But they got to the point that it's their way or no way. And the answer to that is just, let's sit down and work together. There was a turning point 2 weeks ago on this. When we finally reached agreement on the crossing guard and the medical benefits for the employees, that was a time, that was a caveat that Norton could have reached out and worked with us. And you know what he did? The next day he was on the media talking about he guided us and directed us and all like that. And then I just threw my hands up. I said, we ain't gonna get there. I said, people like you, Rhonda, have come to me. You're not the only one to come to me and say, try to work with it, but try to work with them, try to work with them, try to work with them. I hear from people I respect, attorneys and stuff that I know. And when you try, it ain't working. Now, we got Mansell. Mansell worked in his office as executive assistant. Now Mansell's a council person. He demoted Mansell down to community development. Eventually Mansell had to leave. Okay, like I told you, Mansell worked harder to help Norton get elected than when he ran against Mildred Brewer. Mildred Brewer beat Mansell. Now he's got 5 people that have issues with him on the council, all 5. And I think those 5 people want to move the city forward, but they got issues with him. It's not going to be very easy if he doesn't have enough what it takes to make things work. Humility, compassion, patience, kindness, and self-control. Humility, you don't know it all. Compassion is to care. Kindness, to treat everyone with dignity and respect. Peace, love, and self-control. Self-control is not engaging him when I feel like calling him all kind of names, even though he was calling me those kind of names down there at Superior and Euclid. Backing off, saying, look, it ain't about that. It's about knowing when to speak and when not to speak. It's about prayer. Going into prayer when things get when you know you need to pray. That's what has sustained me as a public servant. It's prayer and wisdom. Wisdom is having the will to do the right thing. That's what's got me through these 14 years.
But if you're at the place where you don't think there can be any reconciliation, then how are you going to move the city forward? Because, you know, we have had this conversation before about how all of you all have to try to work together.
Well, next year,
everybody got to try to work together with each other, right? I mean,
right.
How can that happen?
Unless those 5 concepts I told you about, humility, not knowing all, compassion, to care, patience, to wait and be patient, kindness, to treat everyone with dignity and respect, peace, love, joy, and self-control. Unless that connects with Mr. Norton, he's not going to be reelected.
Is it connecting with everybody on city council?
And council too. So, now, And to let you know, the women, and don't forget these last few years, I'm the only male on that council. The women have major issues than me. I look past a lot of stuff. I laugh. Why you always laughing? I laugh to get through it. They have major issues than me because he has not been honest with them. He'll say one thing and do something else. So the answer is this. In the next 6 months or the next 9 to 10 months we run next year, if he doesn't have enough will to bridge that gap, he would not be reelected because nobody's going to support him. The same energy we put to put him in there, we put the same energy to put somebody else in there.
Can it be just a he or I? I mean, how do you all do this as a we or a us?
Well, we as a collective group all have our constituency out here. And they will work to say, we don't think he is serving the people.
Well, I'm talking about the reconciliation part.
Right. But we tried that. I'm glad you brought that up. We went to, let's check this out.
Because I keep hearing he.
Okay, yeah. But
so I want to ask you about the we.
We felt that we were having a disconnect. Disconnects Case Western Reserve. So we had Dr. Chapp, we had Dr. Cy Murray from Cleveland State, and I had class with him before. And we went way out here in Gates Mills, way out here to a retreat. And we talked and went back and forth and all like that. And we thought we were making progress. As soon as we got back, it was the same old thing. We had a meeting with the ministers about 3-4 months ago. Braxton facilitated it. Okay, are you listening to me, Rhonda? Okay, we got it out on the table and all that. Then he got upset. I'm talking about Norton, talking about the Tatler. Okay, well, the Tatler is a publication that comes out that shares a whole lot of stuff that's happening. And he got so mad about when Braxton brought up, well, I don't like the Tatler, and Norton said, well, the Tatler said this about me and all like that. He lost it. So we didn't make any progress there. And near the end of the meeting, we said, we're not going to come back to this because we don't have control of the Tatler.
It was a Tatler. Is the Tatler a reputable newspaper?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's reputable. It's a publication that's going out, and a lot of stuff in there is factual. It doesn't matter whether it's reputable or not. That's the issue. And it's been 14 publications of the Tatler, and the Tatler has been keeping people informed on the side that they don't always see or hear. Now, if the Tatler was not that well, get rid of it.
I was going to say, if it's not reputable, then
but
how does that work with fact?
But it is reputable. That's the issue. It is reputable. Okay?
Your opinion is that it's reputable?
In my opinion, it is. 90% of it is. Sometimes it may go a little too far, but most of it is factual. That's why when I'm on the street, I can't hardly go anywhere. People say, do you have the Tatler? Okay? All right? Now, that's kind of leveled the playing field because we have...
Who publishes the Tatler?
We don't know. We don't know. Okay. We don't know who publishes the Tatler.
So how do we know it's reputable?
Well, because the stories in it, I read it. It's talking, and most of it talked about what's going on in East Cleveland government. I know what's going on and what's not going on. That's why. So, to me, most of it is factual. Not all of it, most of it. And if it wasn't reputable, Rhonda Y. Williams, take the person to court. Somebody's behind it.
How can you do that if you don't know who's publishing?
Oh, you can find out. Come on. This is America. You can, somebody's printing it, somebody's publishing, somebody gets it out. They go on the internet and get it. If they know who it is. But I'm not going to even take a guess because people say, I know who put it out. I know who put it out. I can't verify, but they know. Gary Norton knows who puts it out. Ralph Spots knows who puts it out. They know it. They know it. Okay?
So if we circle the wagon again.
Okay.
How would you say the city has changed over time? Because you've given a lot of,
okay,
kind of 95 to 97, we've moved.
Okay, what has changed is there's a governance gap. There's a lack of cooperation between the legislative body and the executive body that's got to be bridged. I talked with some attorneys yesterday, with some heavyweights I was dealing with yesterday. And they look at some of this, and they said that they see both sides, and they kind of take your view. And if there's not a meeting of the minds, we better maybe to make a change, not just for the mayor, but for the council too. Okay? Now, we passed legislation, and to show you that I think I'm fair, Gary Norton had everybody from, except for Obama, calling me when he first got in to give him that money as a safety director, which he makes $85,000. I struggle with that, okay, because we really couldn't afford it. But I bit the bullet and I gave it to him, okay. Then we looked at the books for the following year, okay, and are you hearing that? And we could not afford it. It wasn't a personal thing. We could not afford it. So, okay, it's not. The legislative body decided we're going to cut. We cut across the board, not just him. The safety director position is more ceremony than anything. The police chief knows what he's doing, and the fire chief knows. If you read the paper, they're doing it in a lot of them, they're cutting that. So we cut it. Once we cut it out the budget, it's out the budget. So we get a ruling from the law director saying that he can continue to get the salary until it goes to court. No. We don't agree with that. So did you know, he has never stopped getting this $85,000. He's been getting it, even though he went on TV and said that we cut it, he's never stopped getting it.
So one thing you see is a transformation of the governance, the politics, and the division between the legislative and the executive branch in East Cleveland.
Right.
What about in terms of population, in terms of the infrastructure of the city? What other changes have you seen over time?
Well, we've seen a decline in the population. Last census, we're down to 17,000, and it may be losing at. Then that's because the people not getting the services. We have a great police department. We have a great fire department, but the numbers are diminishing. We have some of the best housing stock in America, not in the state, but in America. A lot of those houses need to be renovated and fixed. Some of them need to be torn down. The infusion of money we've been getting over the last few years is money to tear stuff down. What is that saying? When you tear it down and you take ownership of it, then you build, you own that. Okay? You own that. We just got, he was he called me and told me he was going to be on TV with the county prosecutor because the county prosecutor gave him another $2 million to tear something down. University Circle Incorporated is landlocked, Rhonda Williams. The land is in East Cleveland.
You have how many abandoned and vacant houses in the
Oh, thousands. Thousands.
Some of them need to come down?
Yes. Some of them need to be come down, some of them don't.
Could that money be useful for that purpose? Or
They could tear them down, but what about the money to build? Where's the money coming to build? So we tear down another 200-300 houses. Where's the money to build? Where's the money to rehab? You feel me? It's a balance. It's got to be a balance. Between the prosecutor giving us some millions and the Kyle County Land Bank giving us millions, we're running number one and tearing stuff down, but not enough to build. That's all I'm saying. There's no balance.
So what do you think contributed to all these different changes over time? What do you think contributed to population loss? What do you think contributed to reducing in resources or services? What are some of the things you think contributed to the transformation of East Cleveland?
I think there's a hopelessness about the governance. I think the fact that people don't think they're getting the services they're entitled to. I think you got a diminishing, and this is quite important, a diminishing tax base. This city is predominantly senior citizens. That's why this building going up here at Belmore and Euclid, CMHA building, that's for seniors. We didn't approve that. Even the council, even Mildred Brewer said we got enough senior citizen housing. We get no taxes from senior citizens. They're on fixed incomes. I'm not to knock them. We need people coming in with jobs, like you guys, like her age, that's going to bring some tax revenue. That's what we need. We need civic engagement. And you know I'm strong about that. People getting involved. Until, besides his town hall meetings, I'm the only one that really bring a bunch of people from all over parts of the city to hear, to voice how they feel and to share information with them. Okay? We have a diminishing tax base. We don't have enough revenue coming in. We seem to do good in tearing stuff down. I hope I'm not being critical, but I don't think we're doing enough in building things up. The Circle East project is going to be a good project. They already got 70% occupancy, and when the people move in there, we'll get the income tax revenue from them. Okay, but we won't see that till probably near the end of the year or next year because they're just moving in. Okay, we'll get that 2% I told you that we get. But we need people to come in and live in these homes, buy these homes. I've even advocated personally to give the homes to these people. The banks can't do anything with them. Give them to them, let them move in. At least they're paying taxes. At least they're using the services. We don't have a hotel in East Cleveland. People complain that we don't have a real good you got Constantino's down there. That's why I asked you about it. But we got these, we got supermarkets. We don't have a Dave's. We don't have a Giant Eagle. One that people like to go to. Okay? That's what you call economic development. We're located in a very strategic area. You could get on the Rapid at Windermere and go anywhere in the world. Not many people can say that. Okay? So we're in a good location. I can go up Cleveland Heights. I can go up there and all like that. We're in a good location. But the governance has been an issue. The tax rates have been an issue. The red light camera situation, we're not getting the revenue. We have problems bigger than Martin and the council, bigger than Norton. We have problems here. But the other municipalities have problems too. It's not just us. But can we come together and work it out? And we've tried. Sweetheart, we've tried.
Keep trying on that.
Okay.
White flight. You had mentioned white flight to me before.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that? Because it was something that you mentioned the 1960s and 1970s that you thought contributed to the change here in East Cleveland.
Profoundly.
Can you talk about that?
In the 60s and 70s, when we start moving in here, they start leaving. They start leaving in numbers. They had good jobs. They had a strong tax base. They left. They didn't want to live with us, live around us. That is deep. It speaks for itself, and we're not unique about that. If you look in Chicago, you look in New York, you look at it. In communities like us, it happens all the time.
Describe what that looked like here in East Cleveland.
Well,
white flight is two words, it's a term.
Okay, but let me break it down for you. East Cleveland used to be a feared community in terms of people driving through because if they went too fast or if the light was out, the police would stop them. Okay, people like that. All right. They were good services. We had a great school system. I remember Focus Scope here. Everybody was trying to get there. We had a good school system. Okay. Well, with the tax base diminishing, and we didn't even talk about the school system was in fiscal emergency for 4 or 5 years too. White folks began to leave. Okay. For whatever reason, they began to leave. We have an aggregate of them now. Well, they've always been there on what we call up on the hill, right up the street here, right off Lee Road, Brewster, Henley, Clivenden, okay, in those Rockefeller homes. Okay. But they left. For whatever reason, they left. And with them, they took their tax base. They've always had pretty decent, good paying jobs. We're getting there, but we years behind.
For whatever reason they left. What do you think the reasons are?
Bus. I think.
Your mom and your aunt moved here in the 60s and 70s, then you moved here in the 90s.
Well, we moved here because we felt safe. We thought it was the opportunity. It was a nice place to live. You could get out and walk like you walk around Case Western Reserve. You can't do that now. People fear. They fear there's a crime element. They feel that they're not that protected, even though we have a lot of police officers. So
you think that's why white people fled?
No, I think they fled. They didn't want to live around us. That's why they fled. Too many of us. Okay?
Did your mom talk about that at all?
She
saw it happening?
She saw it happening.
Did she talk
because when she moved here, she had white people. They were all up and down. Matter of fact, a good white friend of mine stays across the street there. She's still here. She didn't leave.
When did your mom move to this house?
It must have been in the 60s, 70s. I don't remember.
Okay. So she was only on.
But see, when she moved here, and I never moved in with her, because I was at her house, But
she moved in, you said she moved in another place.
but she moved in another place. No, she moved here first.
Oh, she moved here first.
First, right? Then she went to another place. Then she came back because this was her house, And she was going to get this other house with my aunt. Then she decided not to because we looked at it and we said, no, I don't think you ought to do that because it needs too much work. And she came back, and
But she always kept this house. She always owned this house.
Yes.
So who was living in the house when she was in the other house?
My brother. Okay. It's all in the family. My brother. And the other house was big too. Okay. My mother has always liked to decorate, and you know how women like to do that kind of thing. I mean, she must have changed this place 20, 30 times over the years. I'll come in and she got new drapes and new,
You don't like to decorate?
No, I don't have time. I'm dealing with social issues, right? I'm trying to make a difference. Hallelujah. Okay. So I wanted to do this because not so much to get in, we got in that Norton thing and all that history. I try to put that behind me. And I say, what am I prepared to do? The right thing. Okay? And the right thing might not be popular with Rhonda or other people, but I'm going to do the right thing because I have nothing to gain from it. I get every 2 weeks. You know how much I get as a council person?
I think.
Okay. Take a guess. $148. So it ain't about the money, is it? If I didn't have that county job, I'll be homeless. Okay, that's the truth. So it ain't about the money. It's not about the money. I think that we can turn this thing around if we work together. If Norton came to me sincerely and said, look, let's put the past behind, we're going to work together, I'll give it a shot. That's in my nature. Okay. But I've tried. And I feel comfortable about that I've tried.
I don't want to leave white flight for a second. We can come back.
Okay.
We can keep circling the wagon.
Okay.
Because you talked about white flight, and you said you still have a neighbor across the street.
Yes.
But what's the neighborhood like now? Is it mostly African American?
It's mostly, yeah, right. Almost everyone on the street owns their home. The lady who used to own this home here, she moved. She couldn't maintain the home. Okay. John Blue stays in the corner. He worked for the post office for 30, 40 years. He keeps his house. The lady I told you, I can't think of her name right now. She has a beautiful home. Okay, well kept. Okay.
What does she do?
She's retired now.
What did she do before?
I don't remember. But she comes. She comes to. And she's very involved. We got a ex military guy right here in this brand new house. And if you're walking down the street, most of the houses are pretty well kept. Okay. So we have always tried to maintain. People, and you know what a hope is? On every street you go, you may see more blight, but you always see 4 or 5 homes where people keep them immaculate. That's what a hope is, because there's always that aggregate of people that care. There's always that aggregate of people that care. Okay? And when I've been to Chicago, I've seen it. I've been to New York, I've seen it, etc. We're not unique in this. This is not unique. And if I read the paper on a regular basis, and all the municipalities are dealing with refuse fees and garbage picked up and all that. So it ain't nothing new. Okay. We did do good with the schools. We got almost all brand new schools. The buildings don't educate kids, but we got almost all brand new buildings. We're not in fiscal emergency. The schools are going through a whole lot all over the state, but our schools are pretty solid. One of the 2 pieces of legislation I've been proud of, all the legislation I've been involved with, I want to share this with you. I sponsored legislation to give the Shaw Band $10,000 to go to Beijing, China. Okay, and another, I think it was $50,000 for summer employment for our kids. That's the legislation that I was proud of. Couldn't do it by me. I got support, but I took the lead on that. Okay, so these kids had an opportunity to do something they may never do, to go to China, to see another culture, another civilization. It was priceless, and I felt good about it. And I felt that I always worked a summer job, that we have a responsibility to make sure that we look out for our kids, not just YOU and all that, but we have a responsibility. That happened 2 years. We couldn't do it this year. because the money's not there. Okay. So we do some good. Okay.
So how do you think, because we talking about white flight, you're talking about
Mm-hmm.
protecting our kids, looking out for our kids, majority African American community now.
Mm-hmm.
How has race affected your life personally?
Well, when I went to John Hay was, they called John Hay the bookkeepers. You got great clerical skills there. Across the street from John, it's tore down, was Cathedral Latin, which was a Catholic school. I got a good education at John Hay. I had Jewish teachers, I had black teachers, but those teachers cared about your learning. Okay. I don't know if that exists today. I don't know if did I answer? Okay. I don't know if that exists. The caring, like, because somebody saw something in me to help me get that scholarship. I didn't go seek it, but somebody saw something in me and that type of thing. Like I told you, I enjoy going to school. I would have been, the way they look at things, I would have definitely been considered a nerd. Okay. But everything worked out. Okay.
How has racism affected you?
Well, there was a few kids there. I was fearful my first year in college.
Talk about that.
I'm in classes with 300 white kids, and I'm only a couple of us, and then I just had the courage to speak up, but I did my homework. Okay. I did my homework, so I kept comfortable, and then I got to interact with them, and they were just like me. Okay, and I learned something. Say they don't know no more than me. They're just like me. We would drink the beer and the 3.2 beer and all that kind of stuff, and that, So it worked out. It was priceless. Okay, it was priceless.
And how do you think race affected or has affected the city of East Cleveland?
I think there's a feeling that African Americans can't get it done. That African Americans cannot go to the next level to get the governance done. That there's a component that stops us from bridging the gap to success or serving people. That's the effect that I see. I hear it all the time. Sometime in my face, sometime people will whisper, "Well, they can't get it together in East Cleveland. The blacks can't get it together," and I think it goes all the way back to slavery. Okay, that we fight, that we're envious, we're jealous. We just can't come together collectively to get it done. Or I'll put it to you this way: it's almost like the house Negro, field Negro kind of thing. The house Negro is in administration. The field Negroes are the legislative body. The house Negro think he knows more than the field Negro, and we in the impasse. And you never heard it described that way, but I can see it that way. Okay.
So in terms of getting together, you evoke slavery as a metaphor, right?
Yes.
Maybe goes back to slavery.
Yes.
So what about the movement for emancipation, and what about the movement against segregation, and what about the collective movements for civil rights and black power, where black people did get it together?
They were in a situation.
How do you apply that to
because they needed each other. And if you go back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, when we had community, we needed each other. We had no outlet. But now that we got the freedoms and all like that, we don't think we need each other. If I can move out to Solon and I can move out to Gates Mills or Shaker, I'm the hell with it. And you see a lot of that happening. Moving out of the central city or the inner city out there. Okay.
Do you think it has to do with economics of wealth within the black community, or what do you?
Both.
Mm-hmm.
It's both. I also think the dynamics of the dark-skinned blacks versus the light-skinned blacks thinking they're better. I think that's a component you can't get around either. This is my opinion. Mm-hmm. Okay. I think that lighter-skinned African Americans intrinsically think that they're sometimes better than the darker skin. I do. Again, pick up the metaphor. The administration and the council. Okay? All right? I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. You know where I'm going with that. Okay? I believe that. I believe that this person thinks that he's got all the brains and all the answers because these dark Negroes or field Negroes don't know. Put it that way.
There are brown-skinned, dark-skinned people in his administration.
No, yeah. But he's the one running it. He's the one running it. I've even heard some things that made me think that way. And he's saying in 2012, yes, it still exists. The remnants of slavery and that slave mentality and the house Negro thinking he's better than the field Negroes. The council is the field Negroes and the administration is the house Negroes. Yes! I believe that.
What do you think people's perceptions of East Cleveland are based on race?
A bunch of Negroes that cannot get it together.
And is that accurate? Do you think all the negative depictions of East Cleveland
No.
are based on race?
No.
Can you talk about that?
Because we, in all the contentiousness and fractions, we get it done for the most part. We get it done. People get their services for the most part. The garbage gets picked up. The police response is pretty good. Fire response is pretty good. The things that matter to people, even with what we do, because we're here to serve the people for the most part. We'll say, if it benefits the people, we'll bite the bullet and get it done. So it gets done.
So if you were to talk to someone and they said, you know, those people in East Cleveland, man, you don't go in East Cleveland. It's crazy over there. I mean, it's all negativity. What would you say to them? How would you deal with that kind of response to the city of East Cleveland, the entire city?
I deal with it regularly. You know what I tell them? The opportunity is in East Cleveland. You can get a house for almost nothing. The location is fantastic. You can't beat it.
Well, we don't want to live out next to those black folks.
Okay. The deal that you can get in East Cleveland can't beat nowhere in Cuyahoga County. Come to this city, because it's here. People are people, and most people are good. It's here. The housing stock is not only the best in the state of Ohio, but it's the best in the nation. We got great housing stock. Right up and down these streets and look at these houses. Yes, some of them need to be torn down, but we got some great housing. You get those houses for almost a gift. Come to East Cleveland. This is where the opportunity is. Why do you think University Circle Incorporated decided to take a chance to come 1,000 feet into Lakeview and Euclid with the Circle East project?
You think race or racism has affected the ways in which other institutions have dealt with East Cleveland?
Over the years.
Can you talk about that?
Okay.
In your opinion?
I think that Circle East should have been done 10 years ago. I think the University Circle should have been coming this way 10 years ago, but they were reluctant. But now,
Reluctant what?
Reluctant because the governance, because of the perception. They don't have it together, whatever the case may be, and the fact that maybe they don't want to deal with us. But check this out. Rhonda Williams and Allison, they're coming this way now, aren't they? It's always about the now. And once that's successful, they're going to continue to move. And I project that they will go all the way up to Superior and Euclid and everything in between that they can get. Okay? And they got the bucks.
And will that benefit? You see that?
Oh, absolutely.
How do you see it benefiting? Are there any cons?
The tax base. The negative, the gentrification. White folks will come in and take over. Oh, but if that's what it comes down to, such is life. I have no intention of going anywhere. I work with them. Okay? I work with them. That's the pros and the cons. They came. How do you balance them?
You say gentrification, and so
yeah.
be it.
Well.
But if you see that as a con, how do you?
Well, the issue is we need young professionals moving in, along with the young professionals that's moving in now. We need a balance. We need to increase the tax base, but we also need the civic engagement. When they move in, they need to be involved. They need to be engaged. Okay, blacks and whites. And you guess what? You missed the other component. These other ethnic groups are invited too. Okay, what do you call them? Asians and Latinos and all that. Why would they not come here? This is where they can get a super deal. Why not? I would like to see a diversification of East Cleveland. Not all black. I'd like to see all races to come to the great city of East Cleveland. Why not?
Why?
Why not?
Why?
It's a good thing. America is a diverse country. So come on. Come on in here. Be good citizens. Pay your taxes. Get involved in the community. Get involved in your neighborhood. Why not? This is America. Not a perfect country, but it's a very unique country in terms of bringing people and working with them. This is the location, the opportunities are in East Cleveland. Run for office when you come in here. Okay?
So we talk about history a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about it today. We talk about it when we're not on camera. We talk
Okay.
about history. How does inequality, or how has inequality, in your opinion, historically shaped East Cleveland, or the notion of inequality, do you think? Has it played a role in shaping East Cleveland?
Inequality?
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk about
I think that inequality has had an economic impact in terms of we work jobs, we get paid less, number one. Inequality impact a perception of they have all the answers or they can get it done right. We can't. That's inequality. But you feel me what I'm saying? I think inequality has impacted the fact that you hear, well, we might as well give it to the whites. The blacks can't get it together. That's inequality, okay? And that's perception. But in that, civic engagement, one of the most important things I tell people is stop complaining and start participating. You feel that? And we're not getting enough of that, okay?
We're talking about civic engagement.
Yes,
People need
and
to be
participation, okay? It's too much of that. If one thing that peeves me as a public servant is that we have too many people not involved. They get on the phone and gossip, but they don't get engaged. I have people call me all the time. They'll never come to a meeting. They never step up. I wish that would change. I'm hoping that when young people, young professionals, or when I say professional people with working a job, they don't have to have all these degrees, move in here that they get involved.
And you think that's a way to stem the tide of inequality and racism?
Yeah, we have to interact. We're human beings. We have to. Community is people coming together. Community means to come together. We need that.
How has inequality affected you personally?
Uh,
Like your work. You tell us the jobs you had.
well,
again,
I tell you,
and
I
the pay and,
I can tell you this,
okay.
that I see supervisors, African Americans, that keep their foot on the next African Americans under them, okay? And when it comes to the white folks, they treat them like angels. I've seen it for years.
Tell me an experience you had where can you talk about some of your personal experiences where you
I can
see-
tell you that the supervisors that I've been involved with over the years, except Cleveland Works, Dave Rolfe was pretty good, but most of his top people were Caucasian people. But what I see around me in my day job is house Negroes keeping a check on field Negroes and basically acquiescing to the people in power.
And that's from, like, give me some dates on that, some parameters.
Well, I can't. It happens all the time. I've been there doing this now for 6-7 years, okay. and I feel it more than anything now. I see it in co-works. We talk about it. Okay, when it comes to them, they treat them like angels. But when it comes to us, it's almost like they put their foot on it. It's sad. It's sad.
So before 6 or 7 years ago, before you started working for the county prosecutor's office, what did you do?
I worked at Cleveland Works.
Okay.
As a corporate rep, getting people jobs.
How long had you been at Cleveland Works?
Oh, I think 5-6 years I was at Cleveland Works. Okay, fantastic. David Roth, he had a vision. He's the same one that started the free clinic right down the street here. Okay, and he gave me the freedoms. He's the one that said, I was at Cleveland State, and I was involved with the Marauder Montessori School, and they wanted someone to come and speak from a parent point of view. So I went to Mather Mansion down there, and I spoke. And David Roth approached me and said, "You were dynamic. We'd love to have someone like you at Cleveland Works." I didn't give me. He called me a couple of days and said, "We'll hire you." I came in, sat around a table with 10, 50 people. They interviewed me, and they hired me. Okay, he believed in me, and he had me speak to every group that came in there, classes, to motivate them in terms to believe in themselves.
And before that, where did you work?
I worked at Huff House for a long time, but I did in between jobs, and I've been in between jobs. I did a lot of voter registration stuff, American Coming Together, and all like that. I give you my resume. I should have brought that, but I did that to sustain myself. Okay.
When you were in between jobs, how did you survive?
Doing the picking up stuff like that. Everybody, it's always voter registration stuff comes up all the time. I work with American Coming Together. Peter Soros and them rich guys, they came with some money to help carry. You remember that? Okay, well, I got involved with that. We had vans, we had Palm Pilots where you could go up on and get people's addresses. We did all of Kiowa County. I'm surprised Kerry didn't win. But I did that because I was on jobs, I got laid off jobs, but I always had to do something to get by, and something came up like that. Okay. And then
at Huff House, how much, if you don't mind me asking, of course you can say no.
Okay. Okay.
At Huff House, how much were you paid an hour? I mean, how did you?
Huff House, I was making, I think about 20,000. It wasn't a whole lot, but you know what helped me? I had free rent, free gas, free lights, free telephone. When the Huff House closed at 9 o'clock, it was mine. Okay, and on weekends it was closed.
Now you were still working at Huff House when you married.
Right.
So
right.
What happened then?
I had to move. You know, I moved.
Right.
Okay.
So,
okay. No,
you
but
were still making the same amount, or?
Yeah, but I was doing that. I was making the same amount, and I was doing other things. I was always a hustler. Okay, you learned to do what you had to do, and don't forget, I didn't stay at Cleveland State. If I would have stayed at Finn Tower at the time, there was a place, it used to be Holiday Inn, but Cleveland State had bought it, and it was used to be called Vikings Den. I could have stayed in any of those places, but I didn't. With me staying at Huff House saved me a whole lot of money. Okay, I had a decent car at the time. I fed myself. I had a little kitchen on like that. It worked. I got to thank, I got to thank Miss Simmons and them for giving me that opportunity. So, and then where I was, I could get there on a car for 10 minutes or catch the bus and get there in 15, 20 minutes. Walk right up the street, get on the Euclid bus and go right down. They didn't have the health line then, but it was convenient. It was convenient.
And your wife, you told me, was a receptionist?
Yeah, she was my secretary
right.
For the youth things. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was young and idealistic, but I was a damn good worker. Okay, that's why they brought me on. Okay, I even see people now in their 50s and 60s talk about how they miss me and how they miss the things that we used to do. But I loved it. It was love there. Okay, but it helped develop me. All right.
And Cleveland Works, when you went to Cleveland Works.
Oh, fantastic. Paid. Well, I was making $30-some thousand. Okay, and basically what I did was I was a corporate rep. Okay. We had 300-400 employers that would hire from us. We dealt with a lot of felons. Okay, and what happened was they knew that I could reach to people. So not only would he have me speak to the classes, we had to come in and they had places where they teach them to type, taught them how to dress, all like that. Not only would but as a corporate rep, my responsibility was to go to employers to check on the clients to make sure that they make it through the first 90 days. Okay, so I did that. So I in and out. Okay, but it worked.
County prosecutors.
Right, and then the county prosecutor,
Courier.
Right. What I do there is I file legal documents for the county prosecutors. So I'm in court, but I'm not in front of a judge. But they file motions, stuff like that. I go file the motions for them.
I think you work for the post office.
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know. But you know what? I tell you what, when I was doing paper, I thought I was like a postal job, knocking on them doors. You hear that, Allison? All right? Okay. So
And how are you? How's your income now? Your pay scale now?
it's okay.
It's okay.
It will be better. It's okay. The main thing is the health benefits. Okay. It kicks in.
So would you describe yourself as working class?
Yes.
We were
Oh,
talking about
absolutely.
inequality, right? I mean,
Yeah.
where would
I'm
you
working
put
class.
yourself?
Okay, I'm working class. I could say to you, if I was Caucasian, I'd be making double what I'm making. Okay. I've even had conversations with them. You know me. I went straight to him and said, look, I need to make more money. He said, well, we'll see what we can do. And nothing happened. I've been to him 2 or 3 times. Now, you know, at the end of the year, he's history. Okay. McGinty's going to be the new county prosecutor. Okay. All right. So it's life. But what did I learn as a child? What did I learn growing up? I learned to be frugal. What did I learn when I was staying on the 3rd floor for 3 or 4 years without any heat? I learned to get by and to survive. Okay. So I don't have to look back with somebody chasing me saying, well, he owes 15 to 20,000 in child support. I paid it. I bit the bullet on it. Okay. So it taught me. So I know how to live within my means. That's a learning process. But I should be making a lot more than what especially the fact that I engage people. When I come in, they say hi to Nathaniel, because they know me. Okay. It's always about reaching out and communicating with people. So it's the little things that I do that make all the difference. What have you learned in relationships? It's not the car or the big house. It's the little things that make the difference. The flower, the kiss, the hug. Would you like that, Rhonda?
Okay.
All right.
So thinking of your experience, like we just talked about here, and translating that to East Cleveland, other people might be in your position, working class, or not working class, maybe impoverished or in poverty. How do you think that has affected the city?
I think we sometimes we have a poverty consciousness. We can't do this. We won't do that. We complain all the time. You made me think about Mansell. I walked with him 3, 4 times when he was running. Because you know why? And hear this. Because we don't help our young people enough. We always have something to say, but we don't help them. I said, if he wants to step up, he's young, he's bright, he's got potential. I have a responsibility to help the young man. I even went on Mildred Brewer Street and knocked on every door, okay? Because I think that he had something to bring as a young man. That's what we have to do. And I would say to you, in the next 2 or 3 years, if I'm still doing this, I'm going to start grooming someone to step in my shoes, something that we never do. We want to hold on to. I looked at the New York Times today. They had Charlie Rangel on there. He's been a congressman for, 40 years. He still don't want to give it up. Okay. When do we develop the Allisons? When do we bring them in and teach them what they need to know? You feel me? That's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. You got to know when to hold up and when to fold up. So I'm at a point now, after almost 14 years of this, it's time for me to develop the man sales, or a young woman or a young man who has potential to step in. And hopefully over the years, they'll get paid a decent wage for the time and energy that goes in there. Do you realize that I get calls all night? You know, I have to monitor. People call me and all like that because I respond. And if you call me, I say, I'd rather come see who I'm talking to. So I'll come and go and see them. But they call because the word is out there that I'll try to do something. Okay? So, but we got to bring our young people. I wanted to say this. I said, what my vision right now is getting young people to move in East Cleveland, getting young people civically engaged, involved, and participating in their community. That's what I want to do.
Talking about getting civically engaged and
Okay.
involved, can you recollect a memory or an instance when the community fought for something to better East Cleveland, or just engage in a campaign, a civic campaign, or an action for East Cleveland on behalf of East Cleveland?
I would say the schools.
Talk about that a little bit.
We put a levy on they had $10 million to renovate all the schools. And I was a part of that. Well, the state kicked in $90 million. That's why Shaw is brand new, Chambers have been renovated, Mayfair is brand new, Heritage is brand new. You can go all the way. That was community effort. Everybody was on board with that because we knew that the building, something needs to be tore down, something needs to be renovated. My only contention was, again, like I told you, Kirk Middle School was a beautiful school. It was like something in Washington. I mean, it was just well built, old structure. We had swimming pools up there, 2 cafeterias. It was old and rotty. My feeling was that we should have renovated. We shouldn't have tore it down. But the school board, and was money involved, and you know how that thing go. They end up tearing the whole thing down. It's okay, but it's not a Kirk. That's not what Kirk was.
So how did the people mobilize and fight for that issue?
Well, you know what? It's funny that you say that because I had as many white folks helping me with the Kirk thing as I had black folks, or even more. You know why? You know why they stepped up the hill? They had history there. They had history. I had professors from some of the elite schools writing me and giving me advice, and I had people coming from the suburbs that didn't live in these helping me with that. I had a guy, and I'll mention his name to you. His name was Dutch Harley. He kicked in $10,000 with our league. We took this thing all the way to court. We held this thing up for 5 years. 5 years. They cared about it. They attended Kirk. They attended the school. They loved the school system. And they didn't want that tore down. They didn't want it tore down.
How did the schools integrate here?
Integrate in what way?
You said it used to be all white here, or mostly white, then African Americans moved in. Was it just natural kind of integration, or were there struggles? Were there battles? Was there conflict? Was there tension? Do you know?
Well, when I hear from talking to people, they used to kick it with, make fun and do that to the black kids because the black kids were in a minority. And then over the years, it changed. Yeah. That's what happened. I know a guy named Mike Williams. He used to be on the council, and he was telling me what it was like. Okay. But
what did he say?
That the white kids used to mess with the black kids. Okay. And most of the teachers were white at the time and all like that. But in teaching, as you know, if you care about kids, it no matter what color it is. But they got through it. Now, then you had to change over in the 60s and 70s, you had to change. When we start coming in numbers, they start leaving. They start moving out of the city, etc. Now the school is, and it's an open school too. You don't have to live in East Cleveland to go to East Cleveland School. It's open, but still 98%, I think, are black. The times I've been up there to speak to the classes, no white kids in the class. The classes I've spoken to 3 or 4 classes, and no white kids are there. So that's unfortunate.
Any other campaigns that you can think of that community has fought for as an example of civic engagement? Was there? I know Huron. That's kind of when I came in the community.
Well, there was something I did with Noah. Oh, the post office. Mm-hmm. That happened about 3 or 4 years ago. They stepped up, and I asked them, and I stepped up, and we took a stand that we didn't want the post office closed. We held that up for a little while, and eventually they made a ruling and all like that. That was a community effort. Everybody got involved.
Can you talk about that a little bit more? What does that look like, and what's NOAA?
NOAA is Northeast Ohio Alliance for Hope, a community organization that gets people involved, and they do good work. And I went to the head guy and said, "Look, we need your help."
Who's that?
Travail Harp. I said, "We need your help." But see, I remember NOAA before Travail Harp. You see, I have history. There was a white guy that first was involved with it. He's out of Chicago. I can't think of his name right now. But see, I used to go up to Chicago for these trainings all the time. Okay, so I know a lot of stuff. I've done a lot of stuff. And they would train you on civic involvement, community organizing, and all like that. There was a guy named Shell Trapp. Okay, he's the one that trained the white guy who eventually ended up training Travail. Okay, Travail knows his name. Okay, he's okay, and we did collaborate Even though we don't agree on a lot of things now, we did collaborate on the post office. We had a protest downtown on Orange. Or we had a big meeting at the Civic Center. Everybody was, even the mayor and all. Those were times we were working together.
Who was the mayor at that time?
Gary Norton. Okay, all right, okay. So it worked out. I had the postal people helping us. Let's say helping us. That was another time where we came together. Okay.
Did you win?
No. They kept it. They kept the post office, but the trucks and all the vehicles and all like that are up in Cleveland Heights now.
Why do you think you didn't win with all that community mobilization?
I think we didn't win because the post office is having problems all over the country, and they had to. It was inevitable that eventually they was going to close it, just like they're closing a lot of them now. That it just was not to be. But it wasn't for lack of effort, community effort in terms of protesting. We had them all shook up down there. Believe me. Okay, we got media coverage and all like that. We worked together on that one. Okay.
Any other campaign you can think of?
In East Cleveland?
Mm-hmm.
That Kirk, we had the Kirk was the one to stand out. That's what I can think of right now. Let me see. Yeah, those are the two I can think of right now.
So
Okay.
what is your vision for a future East Cleveland?
I see in East Cleveland with young people with jobs, if you want to call them young professionals, moving in, having families, getting engaged, interacting in the community, and turning this city around like it should be. That's what I see. And I say young people and having jobs. I see a tax base, you can know this, that's been diminishing over the last 20, 30 years, turning in the right direction. These young people coming in with jobs. I can see 2 incomes in the families. I can see them fixing up these houses, getting them for almost nothing. And I see good supermarkets, good businesses, up and down Euclid Avenue, etc. I see, right now we're doing, looking at the traffic lights. We have too many now. Some of them are going to be going down, all like that. I see a renaissance. And that renaissance is going to start with people coming into East Cleveland and doing their part. All the pieces coming together for the good. I see community. And that's if there's one thing missing right now, I think it's a lack of community. Okay?
What about the people who are here already? What's your vision for them?
Well, I think that a lot of
they fit.
they will share the history. They will help. I think a lot of the people are getting older, and I think while this transitions, a lot of them will be dying. But hopefully they pass that on to their kids that would take on these houses and they share it. They have something to offer. The generational things working together, the older generation working with the younger generation. I see that too for those that's still around. When like a lot of people that come to my meetings are in their 60s and 70s. Eventually they're going to move on to the Golden Shore, but they have something to offer. I listen to some of the stories they tell. Okay, so my hope and my vision is that we create community, that we get young people involved. Again, diversity, that we have what you call them, Hispanics, Palestine, whatever ethnic group, move it. Why not move into East Cleveland? We have a diversity. Instead of having a 95% black city, that we have a mixture, a real good mixture. Let's say 50, 60% in a mixture of other ethnic groups. That's what I see, diversity. I see a government where they don't always agree, but they sit down in committee and work out the differences, and publicly they put on a good display, not what we do, where we fight in the committees and then we fight publicly. That has to change. Okay.
And what about, East Cleveland has a high working poor poverty rate. What about those people? How do you see them as part of the future fabric or benefiting, if at all, from your vision?
it won't. From a job perspective, it's not going to happen much in East Cleveland, but it will happen in greater Cuyahoga County. Right now, Cleveland is going through a renaissance with the MMPI, with the casinos, and all the building going on. Okay, I see people in Cuyahoga County soling out there with jobs. I see people getting jobs like that, making a decent salary, a good salary to sustain a family, and moving in East Cleveland and living in East Cleveland. I don't see the need, from my perspective, to live in Solon, to live in Shaker. It's here. Okay.
So what is your desire or hope for poor people in your city? In the city of East Cleveland, as a public servant and a steward, what's your vision for the
poor people
and working class people who already live in East Cleveland?
The passport out of poverty is education. Poor people have to go to school, and they don't have to go to 4 years. A big push now of 2 years to get to jobs that's going to pay to sustain a family. That's the passport. Education has always been a passport out of poverty. And that poverty consciousness hopefully will change.
Well, how do they get the money for that?
Grants. A lot of the schools have grants. Obama's them doing good about doing that. Hooking up with corporations who are willing to support them to go to these technical schools and that. One of the reasons why Tri-C and schools like that are doing well is because they connect people or community to jobs. If you read the data, if you read the New York Times, they're talking about these 2-year schools and people being able to come right out and go to work. And then they learn their skills on the job, and if they're good workers, they keep them. I don't necessarily see the need always for 4 years or the master's degree or the PhDs and all that kind of stuff. But what good is it to go to school you can't get a job? You feel me? Okay, you got to be able to read, you got to be able to write, you have the basics, you got to be able to navigate on the computer and all like that. Education. So that's what I see.
And how do you see that being enhanced in East Cleveland?
Well, Case Western Reserve right down the street. Okay, if you're an employee, your kids can go to school for free, right? They need to reach out to the community and do more. Okay, they ought to have a poverty foundation or a poverty scholarship for people in East Cleveland, for the kids, or even for the older people that want to go back to school. Why not? It's a rich institution with great history, connecting with universities, hospital, with all the money they're making, connecting with Cleveland. These are the kind of creative things that can be done. Okay? You feel that? Okay? Just like what you guys do at the Social Institute. Okay? You in one area, then you move 1,000 feet, you in the hood. Whether you're in the Glenville area or whether you're in East Cleveland. They have millions of dollars going on, coming through University Circle, and millions of dollars of construction going on right now. Mocha building, you name it. Okay? Give back to the community. Share with the community. Come up with creative programs. Help the poor people. Black, white, Hispanic, Palestinian, whatever. Case can do their part. Okay? Cleveland State can do their part. John Carroll can do their part. All of them. Rich institutions with rich histories. Now you have spoken with the humble one, Nathaniel Martin. And truly I am.
2 final questions.
Okay.
Maybe, you know how we go. So you might have, in some ways you kind of covered this, but I want to ask it anyway explicitly. What do you think are the major issues that need addressing in order to better your neighborhood? So say, here we are on Beersford, right? To better your community, however you define what that is.
Okay.
And your city, the city of East Cleveland. So it's 3 levels: your neighborhood,
Okay.
your community, and your city. The major issues that need addressing.
Neighborhood, civic engagement and participation. What was the other one?
Community.
Community is interconnected with that. To create community. What is missing around America, not only in East Cleveland, but in Glenville and a lot of places, there's no community any longer. Everybody's stuck behind computers and all these technical gadgets that we have, iPods and all that, and we don't talk to each other. I go up down the street and talk to people, and people are surprised. And sometimes I can't get going, can't leave them because they want to talk. It's nothing. There's no substitute for personal contact. Touching someone, give them a hug, seeing what's going on. That's community. Okay? Then we can get on the computers and email and do all that. But we got to have community. And you talked about government. There has to be a spirit of cooperation in government to serve people. In other words, council's got to work with the administration. Administration got to work with council. It's that simple. Okay? For the good of the people. And recognizing that we're only here for a short period of time. We turn it over to our young people. Then our young people got to be willing to step up and do their part responsibly. Wisdom is doing the right thing for the right reason, for the right result. That's what it is.
What's your faith?
I'm a Christian. I've been a member of Euclid Avenue Congregational Church, United Church of Christ, for almost 40 years. I got involved through Huff House because they came in the neighborhood to help us. My church burned down 3 years ago, right next to Cleveland Clinic. Some people think the clinic burned it down, but I won't go there. They do, okay? But now we're at 30th in Euclid. We've been there for about a year. We got an office on Prospect. United Church of Christ is all over the country. We got a headquarters on Prospect. And that old, it's big church, okay? That's where I go. But as a public servant, I don't restrict myself to Euclid Avenue Congregational Church. I go to the Word right down here. I go to almost all the churches in East Cleveland. In the summer, I make my rounds because I need to know what's going on. I hear different sermons, different preachers, different choirs, and it educates me.
What's the Word?
The Word is Reverend Dr. Ed Vernon. He's got about 5 or 6 churches in Ohio. He's at Shaw. He's at East Tech. He's in Akron. He's out in South Miles. He's got a mega church, I guess you would say. He's quite a he's got quite a operation. And I go to hear what he has to say. And sometimes he's not there. He's on one of them video screens. But he has a good message, and he has a good following. He packs in 500 to 1,000 over at Shaw. Get the Word. The Word grounds you. When I talk about the tools that help me, it comes from the Bible. Humility, to be humble. Compassion, to care. Patience, to wait. Haven't we learned that we'd never get things overnight? We have to be patient. When you got your degrees, you have to be patient. Humility, compassion, patience, kindness. We must treat everyone with dignity and respect, and self-discipline, self-control. We always have to be under control because there's always somebody trying to press that button to get you to go off, okay? That's what I learned. A lot of times I've been around people and I had to control myself because I'm ready to go off. So you learn that. But it takes years sometimes.
So faith helps sustain you?
Oh, absolutely. And prayer. When I came here, I only wrote down 2 words. Prayer and wisdom. I prayed. That's it. I pray that I be able to articulate how I feel and the wisdom to do it the right way. And when I go into any council meeting, I have prayer before I go. They don't know that. Because I got to have that armor on because I'm getting darts from all over. I got people who are receptive. I got people who want to take me out. It comes with the territory. Prayer, wisdom, humility, compassion, patience, kindness, and self-control or self-discipline.
Does your mother still give you advice?
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest advice that she's given you that sustained you? You said she's
80 years old, right. I would say she tells me all the time to do the right thing and be under control. Okay, shut my mouth up sometime.
And what kind of advice do you give your son and your daughter?
I tell them, my son he had to be patient. And I tell my daughter that she can do whatever she wants to do if she believes that she can do it. My daughter, Jessica, she was up on my third floor one day. She went to the Montessori school, and I had these magnets with the alphabet on there and colors. And I told her I said, "What is that, Jessica?" And she couldn't tell me the colors. And she couldn't do the alphabet. And she had been to the Montessori school. So you know what I did? I immediately got her into all them special classes and stuff. Now look at her. She's graduated from college. And what bothered me was her mother didn't pick that up because she was with her mother then. Okay? But I jumped right, it was God. I jumped right on it. Got it in them Title I classes. I remember she was getting one-on-one instruction. And now, who would have ever thought that she would have went to Kent State? Graduated from Kent State. And now she's a registered nurse at University Hospital. And I tell her at her job to be positive, stay out of the gossip, watch out for them women. You're there to do a job. That's what I tell her, okay? Because I tell her to always keep her in mess, okay? That's what I tell her.
And what do you tell your son?
Be a man, be strong, always think for yourself. He got in a fraternity, and I didn't ask him to do it. He called me one day and he shocked me. He said, "I want to get in a fraternity." And I said, "Are you sure that's what you want to do?" I said to him, "This is what I want you to remember." I said, "You got some good people in the fraternity, you got some bad people, but always think for yourself." Okay? He got in, went through the mess, and he enjoys it more than me.
Is he a Kappa as well?
Yes.
I guess I should assume that, huh?
He's a Kappa. But I didn't put it on him. Just like Jessica, I told her, I said, "I don't even want you looking at sororities, the Deltas, the AKAs, until you get through your first 2 years." And she never brought it up. So, and now if she wants to go do alumni, she can. Okay. Nate went to Wilmington near Cincinnati, and they didn't have a black fraternity there. So it cost him over $2,000 to get in, to go through the alumni. And because he wanted to do it, I gave him $1,000, and he put in the other, and he went through it. And it gives him a social outlet where he's around doctors, lawyers, and all like that, which is a good thing. We ain't out in the street with all that mess.
And what about Dominic?
Dominic, a street guy. He does his own thing. He's in and out of jobs. He's a hard head. But I pray for him too, because Dominic's 27, and I told him, this is what I tell him: there are no shortcuts in life. I said, you've been taking all the shortcuts. That's why you stay in trouble all the time. So I'm hoping that kicks in. It may not. You don't get 100% all the time. But the love is there. If he needs me, I'm there for him. Jessica needs me, I'm there for her. If Nathaniel needs me, I'm there. I'm just so happy that they went on and did what they need to do. Especially Jessica being a woman and all the distractions she could get. But she did what she needed to do. As a dad, I would get to U-Haul and take her stuff down there. Then she'd come back home for the summer, take her down there, the Kent and all like that. But it worked out. She got a chance to live by her own. She got to be independent, etc. Now she's back home with her mother, paying them student loans back. And I told her, I said, don't worry about that. I said, it might take you 15 years to pay them back, but I said, you got the paper now. I said, don't even worry about that. And then when she's staying with her mother, she ain't got to pay that much, man. Her mother glad to see her. So it works out.
What do you think of your political career?
I had a chance to run for state office, but I wouldn't. You know why? I wasn't going to travel back and forth to Columbus 2 or 3 days a week to get nothing done. The Republicans got all that control down there. They can't get nothing done. The other day, Kasich finally did second chance stuff where he's going to help people with felonies. It's way overdue. But you know why they're doing it? Because of the economics. It costs more to put them in jail than to keep them out. So, but he did that. But I'm a practical person. I would not travel back and forth because I watch it over the years and I read this stuff. They're not getting anything done because it's all controlled by the Republicans. When they did what they did, not only did they take over the House and the Senate, they hold every statewide office. Every statewide. They can't get anything done. I wasn't going to go down there for the little 40,000 and say I'm a state rep. But people that asked me to do it, no. I said, I can be more effective at $148 every 2 weeks trying to do what I'm doing here in my community. Okay. So it ain't about the money with me. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And what do your children think of your political career, your path? You ever talk to?
Yeah.
About,
sometimes they think I put too much time in it and all like that. Mm-hmm. But they recognize that I've been at all the graduations. When I got them in sports and all like that, I didn't miss a game. Okay. I would miss a meeting, council meeting, especially committee meeting. If they had a game, a baseball game or basketball game, I was there. Okay.
So they think you should do something different? Are they proud of you as a
what
do they say to you?
Well, Nate says that, Nathaniel says that people come to him all the time talking about how I speak. and he says they talk about me sometimes good, sometimes bad, but most of the time good. Mm-hmm. The people like the way I speak and that. So I was surprised to hear that from him. And Jessica, she always say, Daddy, what she say? Daddy, you a trip. She said, you a trip. That's what she said. Right, Jessica. Right. Mm-hmm. So, matter of fact, I was with Jessica yesterday. Huh? No, go ahead. Yeah, well, I was with her yesterday. She had to do something with her car. And I met her, and so to make sure that men don't play her and all like that. So and here's another thing that I'm proud about, and they know. I've never said a negative thing about their mother. Okay, what we did. I have nothing to benefit by saying something negative about her. She was a good mother for the most part. Okay, and I was there. When a car broke down, I was there. Every time something happened, she would call me. I would step up. So I did what I had to do. That's why I think I've been blessed. Okay. Vengeance is not mine. It's the Lord. When it comes to everybody in this government situation, God knows. You can't play him. You can't fake him. He knows what the deal is. And what goes around comes around. You don't treat people right. You don't be honest with them. You don't do the right thing. You're going to get yours. Okay?
So what would you be prepared to do or continue to do in order to make East Cleveland better? What would you be prepared to do or continue to do or do differently to make East Cleveland better?
Number one, keep trying to create community through the Democratic organization, getting people involved in voting. That's number two. Trying to work with the administration to serve people. Even though I struggle, if it comes right, I'll sit down with Gary Nord because it's in the best interest of all of us. And getting more young people involved in the process. I like to start grooming a young person to take my place. That's what I would like to do.
Connect the dots for me. How did your life growing up affect you as a person now and your pathway in East Cleveland?
I would say the experiences of my life then and now, it made me stronger. It made me believe in myself. It taught me the power of prayer and let me know that as long as I am connected to a higher source and that my intentions is right, most things I'll get done. I learned to take the bitter with the sweet. Know that you're going to have some victories and you're going to have some defeats, but it ain't the end of the world. I'm most happy is about my kids, that they're doing okay. They're happy. They're not in jail. I think they're giving something back to the community. It's been an interesting mix serving here, but that was an opportunity that was afforded to me, and I think I've done okay. I learned not to give up when they took me out on the Kirk thing and pulling up the pants thing, and people got afraid and all like that, but I was not deterred. I kind of internalize the victors. Out of the night that covers me, black as a pit from pole to pole. I think whatever God's will be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutches circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeon of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. In the fell place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade. But that the years shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. That's Nathaniel Martin. I've learned that. I am the captain of my soul. Okay.
Is there anything you want to say that I haven't asked you about the history of East Cleveland, about your history, anything at all?
I want to know everything about your life.
Is there anything you want to tell young people in East Cleveland?
Yes. The number one, they have to believe in themselves. Number two, they have to put in the work. There's no free rides. There's no shortcuts. Reach out, and there's always someone out here that will help you. If East Cleveland is going to make the turnaround that I see, they have to do their part because they are the future leaders of tomorrow. They're special. They're unique. With the computer skills that these kids have and all the things that they can do, there's nothing they can't do. I'm willing to reach out my hand to help them. That's what I have the young. You can do it. I can, I will, and I shall. It's the attitude that they have to have.
Tell them about the P principle, and then we'll cut the tape off.
Okay, the P principle, and I'll end with that. Prayer, preparation, proper planning prevents poor performance. Patience, persistence, purpose pays. Prayer, preparation, proper planning prevents poor practice, prevents poor performance. Patience, persistence, purpose pays. That's how it works. I've used that principle to guide me most of my life. I call it the P principle. Prayer, preparation, proper planning, practice prevents poor performance. Patience, persistence, purpose pays. We're here for a purpose. We have to do all of that to make it connect. So let it be written, so let it be told. Thank you.